Chapter 475. Everyone was stupefied. I can see it. A small ball of light appeared between those delicate fingers. The ball of light was continuously expanding, and it looked just like a crystal bubble. Everyone was attracted by this bubble. It was so beautiful and dazzling. Even Chinya herself was attracted by the bubble. However, the beauty of the bubble was terrifying. When the bubble touched the first aircraft, the latter gradually disappeared. It was the kind of aircraft that disappeared along with the expansion of the bubble. This was an aircraft that disappeared without any reason. Immediately after, more and more aircraft appeared, and by the time everyone reacted, it was already too late. The crystal bubble swallowed up all the flying devices in the sky. The crowd that was relatively close to the bubble had all disappeared. Not even a single piece of the aircraft was left. Pao Yihua picked up a knife and fork and threw it out, piercing the bubble. If this goes on, all of the people on this planet will disappear. After all, I, the Supreme Overlord, am not the kind of person who would willfully kill the innocent. I am a man with principles. The sunlight smoothly shone down, lighting up Chinya's astonished face. Chinya didn't expect that a snap of her fingers would actually cause such damage. How can this be? Looking at the colorful ring on her finger, then looking at Yihua, she seemed to have understood. This bastard actually hid it from me. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, looked at Chinya's gaze. That ring is so beautiful. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji's eyes were already red. Why does Chinya have a ring, but I don't? Cough, cough, cough. Donghuang Baiji held onto her chin and coughed lightly, then waved her hand. Yihua asked concernedly, Baiji, did you catch a cold? This idiot. Yihua, do you think that I should have more things on my hands? Donghuang Baiji stretched out her pure white and tender hands and said. Yihua finally understood. In actuality, he had already prepared the ring long ago. He definitely wouldn't be biased towards anyone. When Donghuang Baiji saw the ring on Yihua's hand, she immediately became bashful. She didn't expect that Yihua would really prepare the ring. Hands. Yihua said faintly. Donghuang Baiji's face immediately became red. Xitingting, who was at the side, was also moved. Chinya teased, Baiji, didn't you always complain that you don't have a ring? Why are you suddenly afraid now? That's right, mommy, daddy is going to give you a wedding ring, Donghuang Li said happily. The empress lowered her head slightly, then stretched out her hand. Yihua held on to empress's fair and small hand, then wore the ring on her ring finger. This ring should be considered as me trapping empress, right? When Donghuang Baiji looked at the dazzling ring on her ring finger, a smile of happiness appeared on her beautiful face. It was just that there was no one to witness it. Daddy, Donghuang Li also stretched out her small meaty hand. It was clear that she also wanted a hand. Yihua patted onto his daughter's head. In the future, Ali will receive a ring, but it won't be given by daddy. Sniff, sniff, sniff. Ali wants daddy to give it to you, Donghuang Li said. Yihua took out a golden white bracelet, and Donghuang Li was immediately mesmerized by the bracelet, because the bracelet was even shining with stars, and it was so beautiful. Do you like it? Yihua said with a slight smile. Donghuang Li carefully held the paper in her hand, and, Ali likes it. Chinya and Donghuang Baiji clearly liked the bracelet too, but they were too embarrassed to accept it. Could it be that I have to fight with my daughter over the bracelet? How embarrassing would that be when the time comes? I can blackmail Yihua on the bed. There are definitely a lot of good things on Yihua's body, and yet, he is actually hiding them and not giving them to his wife. He is truly stingy. Yihua took out another golden token and tossed it over to Xitingting. The latter caught the token hurriedly and almost dropped it onto the ground. Use it when you are in a life and death crisis. Yihua warned. Xitingting was terrified, then said hurriedly, Thank you, Mr. Looking at the golden token in her hand, Enchanting took in a breath. The token that Mr. is giving me is definitely not an ordinary item. Also, I already said that this token can only be used when I am in a life and death situation, which means that it is a life-saving talisman. However, this also means that Mr. won't be staying here for a long period of time, and will have to leave. Thinking up to here, Enchanting felt a bit disappointed. After giving out the rewards, Yihua continued to enjoy the peaceful breakfast. The breakfast had become much quieter. But the faces of the people who escaped were filled with fear. Without any regard for their lives, the people who escaped took all kinds of transportation and left this demonic city. And everyone in the world also saw that bubble. When they saw how the bubble made the people disappear, they were all incomparably shocked. If this kind of big move was used painstakingly, everyone would still be able to imagine it. However, this kind of move was actually done by a woman with a light snap of her fingers. This kind of result was unacceptable. With just that light snap of her fingers, everyone died, and those who didn't die were almost scared half to death. This is simply not a strength that a human should have. Just what kind of family is this? Those who originally planned to turn bicycles into motorcycles, but after seeing this kind of result, they didn't dare to have this kind of thought anymore. Because, without even a bit of hope, what's the point of doing this? There's no point at all. I might as well go back and hug a woman and play comfortably. Right when everyone was frantically escaping from the city, the sky flashed. Blinding. Everyone raised up their hands and covered their eyes. What a dazzling light. When everyone saw who it was that came, everyone stopped their footsteps. That was the Federation's war flag, and among the war flag, there was even a golden war flag, which meant that the Federation's president had also come. The people who escaped started cheering. The Federation did not abandon them, and after receiving the news, they immediately came to provide reinforcements. As expected of the president. Formidable. A row of battleships appeared in the sky. The battleships were arranged neatly, and on top of the battleships, there were 1,000 Martial Master powerhouses. My God, that is the President's self-defense force, 1,000 Martial Master powerhouses, so powerful. There are also various types of soldiers, this is too powerful. There are also 3 Martial King powerhouses. My God. My God. I actually saw 3 Martial King powerhouses. I am so excited. The battleship slowly flew towards the manor. Those who were originally planning to escape ran back to the manor, wanting to see how the president is going to teach that arrogant man a lesson. Yihua, who was currently eating his breakfast, turned his head and looked towards a place not far away. That huge battleship seemed to be right in front of his eyes, and a supreme aura was coming towards him. This caused Yihua to go into a slight daze. Such a big scene. Mr. This is the Federation's president. The president is here. Enchanting was about to collapse. After following her mister for a few days, everything that she knew was completely overturned. So money is so easy to earn, the divine tool of the universe has become trash, and killing someone only takes a snap of the fingers to destroy their worldview. Yihua said faintly, so it's the president, this pretentiousness is not bad, but it still can't compare to me. Daddy, this scene is so spectacular. Dong Huangli mumbled. Yihua took a look at his 2 wives, and astonishment could be seen on his face as well. Chapter 476. The battleship stopped above the entrance of the manor. A blue laser shot out from the bottom of the battleship, flattening the entire ground. Soon after, the battleship slowly descended, and the cabin door was opened. Tap tap tap. A series of sonorous and powerful footsteps rang out, and the battleship that had a golden flag on it actually started playing a BGM. Alright, this is the Federation's marching song. It is indeed very exciting. Especially when it is accompanied by the footsteps of the soldiers, it is simply invincible. However, the surrounding people who were watching the show also started singing along with the BGM. They were definitely supporting the president. When all of the soldiers were in position, the only floating battleship also slowly descended, but it did not completely descend. It was still around 100 meters away from the ground. Suddenly, a red carpet was spread out, and on both sides of the red carpet, the Federation's flag was raised high. At this moment, the cabin door slowly opened. A golden ladder descended onto the ground, and when Felisa's figure appeared, the BGM stopped playing. The president has arrived, stop God's punishment. All of the soldiers began shouting in unison. The president has arrived, stop God's punishment. The president has arrived, stop God's punishment. Felisa, who was wearing a set of golden armor, could be seen slowly walking down the stairs. Just that, his hand was holding onto a war hammer, and he looked just like a blacksmith. Behind Felisa were the three martial kings, as well as the chief of the Spacetime Directorate, Ji Yang, and the old man Wu Xiangwen. New reporters rushed over one after another, sending this scene to all over the world. This is the prestige that came from His Excellency the President. That majestic figure, that calm face, that firm muscles that are as delicious as sandwiches, and that dignified footstep that he took, made people feel convinced. The president is mighty. The president is mighty. The president is mighty. The surrounding people started cheering loudly. The president is too awesome, just this way of appearing is enough to suppress the other party. Look at what they have, a broken down house, and then nothing else, only that universe artifact above their head is able to enter their eyes. Of course, there are also those two beauties for that child to be able to become a child bride. She will definitely be very beautiful when she grows up. Yi Hua, are you not going to take action? Qing Ye said hurriedly. Don't you like to act cool normally? Right now, the other party is already acting cool in front of me, why aren't you reacting? Dong Huang Baiji said, Yi Hua, we cannot lose to others, we must make a grand entrance. Daddy called dragon over. Dong Huangli only wanted to say those three dragons. However, would he use the same extravagance twice? That's impossible, it can't serve as a foil to my heroic bearing. Felisa raised his hands high, and the entire place fell silent. The atmosphere was very heavy, and all the soldiers were staring at the family. That kid was still drinking. She actually didn't know fear. But on second thought, kids are just too naive. What do they know? Felisa waited for a moment. She didn't expect to be ignored. She signaled Ji Yang, who was beside her, to say something. Ji Yang walked out respectfully. Who are you? Yi Hua slowly stood up. Everyone became alert for a moment. They were clearly a bit frightened by Yi Hua. Just when everyone was feeling puzzled, Yi Hua spread out his hands. The few of them began to ascend slowly. Yi Hua looked down at the crowd and said faintly, You are asking me who I am? I am someone that all of you cannot afford to offend. Right after Yi Hua finished speaking, a purple cloud slowly floated over and enveloped Yi Hua and the others. Everyone was baffled. Was he throwing a smoke bomb and preparing to escape? Where was he? What the hell is he doing? Felisa was also very puzzled and asked gravely, What technique is this? The 5 people at the back shook their heads. I have never seen such a technique before. Suddenly, there was a change in the purple mist. Slowly descending from the sky, it actually formed a flight of stairs. My God, those are clouds. Why does it feel like they have materialized? Furthermore, I have never seen such a beautiful flight of stairs before. The flight of stairs seemed to be red and gold at the same time, giving off a very strong illusion. As the flight of stairs materialized, the cloud on top of the flight of stairs also started materializing. A complicated and strange background appeared in everyone's eyes. There were no divine beasts, nor were there any ghosts, but it gave off a very oppressive feeling. Finally, an exquisite and majestic throne appeared, and the man who was sitting on it just now was sitting on it. 2 women were standing beside the throne, and there were also 2 children and Enchanting who was standing slightly further away. Looking at such a scene, everyone swallowed their saliva. This scene is simply too spectacular. The width of that flight of stairs is even wider than all of the Federation soldiers, and the entire platform above the flight of stairs is several kilometers long, even wider than the President's battleship fleet. Dong, dong, dong. A series of metal clanking sounds suddenly rang out, immediately resounding throughout the sky. Suddenly, a group of people appeared on both sides of the platform above the flight of stairs. This was a group of warriors dressed in colorful armor, walking over with a majestic aura. However, no one knew where these warriors came from. The top of the platform on both sides were empty, but these warriors all walked out from there. Yihua felt that it was a bit monotonous, there should be some background music. I want something more intense, the kind that sounds like a fight. Yihua actually knew of a song. Superstars in Troubled Times. Hearing such a song, if one were to see a hoodlum on the road, they would immediately King gang up on them. Suddenly, a burst of music rang out between heaven and earth. When the music rang out, some people couldn't help but shake their heads along with the rhythm. The reporters who were following and filming in the sky were all dumbfounded. Did this man install a loudspeaker in the sky? It's as if the entire world can hear it. Adding that shocking scene, it was as if their entire body was boiling. Everyone who was watching the video had this kind of feeling, completely unaware that this was a shocking scene of the enemy. Furthermore, they all had the urge to go to the streets and fight. Tens of thousands of colorful warriors walked down the flight of stairs in an orderly manner, and then spread out. Every step they took was so majestic, causing people to blush with shame. After a long time, the colorful warriors couldn't stand anymore and finally stopped. However, looking down from the sky, the number of colorful warriors was at least 5 times that of the Federation. Furthermore, because they were all dressed in the same uniform, they looked even more intimidating. Just by standing there, people would tremble with fear, and they would even have the terrifying thought of running away without fighting. Felisa was also stupefied by the situation in front of him. Compared to him, my side is just like playing house. However, if you think that it's over, you are gravely mistaken. A dragon roar suddenly rang out from the top of the platform on both sides. This dragon roar shook the heaven and earth and made ghosts and gods cry. The dragon had not appeared yet, and its might was already surging over like seawater, causing people to be unable to breathe. Finally, the dragon's head appeared. Everyone was shocked by the huge dragon's head, and they felt that it would be able to bite a warship into pieces with a single bite. Furthermore, it was a huge dragon with antlers and a snake's body. When the dragon's entire body hovered in the sky, that imposing figure caused everyone to swallow their saliva, and their eyes were filled with fear. This is a divine dragon. Yihua stood up and spread out his hands again. All of the colorful warriors shouted out in unison, "Be afraid. Be afraid under the power of the Supreme Overlord." Chapter 477. Everyone in Cerulean Planet was stupefied. Looking at the scene in front of them and the dragon roar that was ringing beside their ears, they were completely at a loss. Just who are they? Who can tell us? Just what kind of people were they? The president's acting is already very awesome. He is already very imposing. The other party clearly only has a few people. Why did so many warriors suddenly appear? If it was only warriors, then forget it. Furthermore, there were even 2 enormous dragons that appeared, a feeling of powerlessness emerged from the bottom of their hearts. In addition to the dragon's final roar, everyone's line of defense was completely crushed. That was a kind of worship towards the unparalleled power. No one was able to raise any thoughts of resisting. Everyone in Long and City was able to see the enormous dragons that were hovering in the sky. Their entire bodies were unable to move, they didn't even have the strength to speak. As the most advanced president of Cerulean Planet and even the entire Milky Way galaxy. Right now, Felica was already shocked by the scene in front of him. His mouth was slightly opened, even the three martial kings behind him were the same, they had entered into a daze. Compared to him, what I am doing is really just a small show. Look at the other people's warriors, their armors are all emitting out rainbow-colored radiance that can simply blind people's eyes. And those two enormous dragons are really unable to resist at all. Right now, looking at the cosmos artifact that is floating in the middle, it seems like it is really not that important anymore. Yihua was very satisfied with this kind of show. I feel that it is a lot more powerful than the last time. However, today is the first time that I am able to act cool in front of my wife. I feel very good in my heart. If not for taking into consideration my face, I would really want to turn around and see what kind of expression they have. Yihua's guess was right. Although Qingya's expression was calm, she was very shocked in her heart. I didn't expect that my husband would have such an ability. Her understanding of Yihua increased by another level. No wonder he likes to act cool so much, so it turns out that he has the qualifications to act cool. Furthermore, this feeling is really not bad. I feel very proud. The person who is sitting here is my husband. My heart is filled with happiness. Dong Wang Baiji's heart was also not calm. I am also used to seeing big scenes, but I have never seen such a big scene before. Especially the rainbow-colored dragon that is at the side. Its body is really too big. The other party's warship looks just like a toothpick, thin and small. Dong Huang Baiji was very happy and also very excited towards her husband being able to possess such strength. The luckiest thing in her life was that day. At that time, she walked into that leisure bar, had sex with Yihua, and gave birth to her precious daughter, Ali. Although there were some small misunderstandings in between, but all of those misunderstandings were resolved, and what was left was only satisfaction. Dong Wangli had seen such a scene last time, therefore, after being shocked for a moment, she became indifferent. Meanwhile, Brett's expression didn't change at all, as if he had seen his honor's expression very often. This is merely one of the ways his honor acts cool, and his honor has hundreds of ways to act cool. As a local, Shidingting's mind was in a mess. Actually, when the rainbow-colored warrior appeared, she felt a little dizzy. When she saw the mystical dragon, she could no longer think normally. No wonder Mr.'s family was not afraid of anything. It turned out that they had such strength. It was too terrifying, too despairing. Upon receiving his honor's order, Brett slowly took a few steps forward and shouted out coldly, "Kneel." A terrifying pressure came out from Brett's mouth, and it felt as if the air was being pressed down by a mountain. Everyone, including the president, everyone knelt onto the ground with a plop. Both of their knees smashed open a small hole on the ground, and both of their hands were propping themselves onto the ground. Their faces were filled with fear, and their eyes were wide open. This kind of scene was suffocating, and everyone in Blue Blaze Planet was able to see it clearly. Their president knelt onto the ground. The Federation's president knelt onto the ground. The three martial kings who were revered by tens of thousands of people also knelt onto the ground. Even the self-defense forces of the president also knelt onto the ground. All of them surrendered under the power of that cold-faced man. The sky of Blue Blaze Planet is going to change. Felipe looked at the grass in disbelief. I am the president of Blue Blaze Planet, and yet, I actually knelt onto the ground with just a single sentence. Furthermore, I knelt onto the ground towards the enemy. This is a huge humiliation. If this is seen by my own people, where would the prestige of the president go? The huge pressure caused everyone who was present to tremble. Soon after, Brett shouted out, "Rise!" Along with Brett's shout, everyone felt as if the mountain on their back had disappeared, and their breathing became smoother. "President! Your Excellency President! President!" The three martial kings who were at the side all stood up. Seeing that the president was still lying on the ground, they hurriedly went forward and helped the president up. Felipe's eyes were bright red, seemingly like he wanted to get angry, but he didn't dare to get angry. This caused everyone who was watching to become anxious. "President, why don't you get angry? The other party has already come to bully us." Those who were not present at the scene were definitely thinking like this, but their president was present at the scene. Feeling the pressure that came from the divine dragon, they really didn't dare to get angry. Yihua stretched out his hand. This action of his caused everyone to be startled. What is this man planning to do? Is he planning to kill someone? Does the president have the ability to resist? Obviously not. However, the camera was focused on the Cosmos artifact at the center. The body of the Cosmos artifact could be seen slowly distorting, just like a piece of iron that was revolving. My God! That man is actually planning to destroy a Cosmos artifact in front of everyone. That is a Cosmos artifact. Furthermore, it is a long blade that is emitting out green light. Just by looking at its appearance, it is even better than the hammer that the president is using. Bang! The Cosmos artifact finally couldn't endure anymore and self-destructed. Immediately, an enormous airwave was produced, engulfing the entire city. The airwave was like a level 10 hurricane. However, for such a high-tech city, a level 10 hurricane was nothing much. The Cosmos artifact could be seen falling onto the ground in two pieces. Looking at this scene, a lot of people couldn't take it anymore. Is this how you are going to waste a Cosmos artifact? Even if you don't want it, there are still a lot of people who would want it. Felipe and the other martial kings weren't thinking about this, they were thinking about something. This man is actually able to easily destroy a Cosmos artifact from afar. Why does such a power exist? Yihua said gravely, "Don't panic, I still have a lot of trash weapons like this. I just want to let you all know one thing, the things that you all view as treasures are all trash in my eyes." No one had ever seen such an arrogant man before, but what was undeniable was that he had the qualifications to be arrogant, and his arrogance caused people to be unable to resist, causing people to hover on the edge of fear. "Just what do you want?" Felipe shouted out loudly. "What I hate the most is when there are people who act cool in front of me, and you are one of them." Yihua's tone caused Felipe's heart to palpitate madly. This was the feeling of an act-tough king meeting another act-tough king, and then being slapped in the face by the powerful act-tough king. Chapter 478. I am the dignified president of the Federation, and today, I lost beyond recognition, I lost cleanly, I lost to the point where there isn't even a little bit of room to recover. Why would such a man appear? Why is this man so perfect? Even if he is just sitting there, I feel that he is a few levels higher than me. Why is that stalwart figure so outstanding? Every single word pierced deeply into my heart, causing me to feel endless pain. Your Excellency President, we cannot be so passive. Wu Xiangwen, who was at the side, said gravely. How can the entire Federation lower its head in front of an outsider? That is absolutely not allowed. There must be someone who stands out. Felisa shook his head and said powerlessly, "Is there a better way? The other party is too strong, there is no need to make unnecessary sacrifices. Your Excellency President, our Blue Blaze planet has never lost, and there is no precedent of surrendering without a fight." Wu Xiangwen said gravely, his gaze deeply looking at the man who was sitting on the throne. Felisa took a deep breath, then, which one of you is willing to fight for the Federation? The three martial kings became silent, Space Administration's chief Ji Yang also became silent. Meanwhile, Wu Xiangwen cupped his hands and said, "Your Excellency President, please allow this old man to atone for his crimes. It just so happens that I can also take revenge for my disciple." Felisa was very gratified. Only Wu Xiangwen is reliable at the crucial moment, the others don't even dare to, not to mention my own self-defense forces, they are currently trembling in fear. Elder Wu, you are the one who should receive the respect of everyone in Blue Blaze Planet. Felisa said gravely. At such a crucial moment, only the older generation stood out, how worthy of respect. However, it is precisely these people who have always been low profile. The world only knows of the three martial kings, but look at the current situation, the three martial kings are trembling in fear. Wu Xiangwen's expression was grim as he cupped his hands and said, "For the Federation." This is such a morale-boosting sentence, causing Felisa to tremble. Isn't everything I am doing for the entire Federation? Felisa, who was originally in low spirits, gradually became confident, his back also straightened up, he immediately raised the hammer in his hand and shouted, "For the Federation." All of the soldiers trembled violently, their bodies that were originally trembling in fear calmed down, revealing the imposing manner that a soldier should have. Soon after, they roared, "For the Federation." Tens of thousands of people shouted in unison, shaking the heavens. In the face of a powerful enemy, the Federation did not cower. They used their own actions to prove everything. Regardless of whether it was the spectators around them or the people watching the video from all over the world, they all clenched their right fists and placed them on their left chests. For the Federation. For the Federation. For the Federation. A deep and loud sound spread throughout the entire blue ardent star. This was something that had never happened since the founding of the nation. Everyone's blood was ignited at this moment, and they all wished they could join in the battle. Sacrificing his life for the Federation. Reclaim the dignity of the Federation. Annihilate the enemy for the Federation. With the sudden rise of the president's aura, the murderous aura at the scene became much stronger. It could be said that he had gained back some face. Yihua looked at everything that was happening in a very natural manner, and he wasn't frightened by the imposing aura that the other party emitted. In actuality, he had seen this kind of scene too many times. There are some vile people among humans, but when it comes to the moment of life and death, they seem to be able to instantly unite together. No matter how strong the enemy is, they will still use all of their strength to protect their home. But I can tell you, if it was someone else, they might have a chance, but the one you met is me. Struggling would only bring about greater despair. This was the first time that Qingye and Dongwang Baiji had seen such a scene, and they could feel that the battle blood within their bodies had been ignited, and they really wanted to go down and fight. Dongwang Li's little hands were starting to itch. However, since her daddy didn't say anything, Dongwang Li didn't dare to act recklessly. Shi Tingting was almost stunned by the other party's imposing manner. It turned out that the people of the Federation could be so united. This was the first time she realized it. Wu Xiangwen walked out of the group slowly. His aura was majestic, and his body was emitting dense spiritual energy. He shouted, "You dare to fight me?" Yihua looked at the old man coldly, then waved his hand. Among the several tens of thousands of seven-colored warriors, one actually walked out. A light breeze blew over. It was not very cold, but for some reason, some people felt their hearts turn cold. This was absolutely ironic. This was a great humiliation. The other side actually sent a small soldier to fight. What right do they have to humiliate the people of the Federation like this? Wu Xiangwen looked coldly at the rainbow-colored warrior who was walking towards him from the front row. He was the same as the others, not the leader. He wasn't even a general, just a small soldier. He felt that his old face had been slapped by the other party. The other party actually sent a small soldier to humiliate me. The president and the others who were at the back had gloomy expressions on their faces. This kind of action of the other party is a deep look of contempt. Right now, we can only rely on Wu Xiangwen. I have to ruthlessly strike at the other party's contempt and let that man know that the entire Federation isn't a place that can be easily provoked. Right now, Wu Xiangwen was thinking the same thing as well. His face that was filled with wrinkles was moved, and his aged body slightly leaned forward, giving off the appearance of a ferocious tiger pouncing on its prey. Pull out your weapon. However, the rainbow-colored warrior remained unmoved. He stood straight and tall in his original spot, not moving at all. Swoosh! A red blade appeared in Wu Xiangwen's hand. A strange red flame ignited on the blade, and the temperature of the scene instantly rose by more than 10 degrees. Immediately, a berserk-killing intent emerged, and a violent gale abruptly arose. Wu Xiangwen's eyes shone with a strong brilliance. Wu Xiangwen, who had never been humiliated before, exploded at this moment. Boundless anger was burning his brain, and his entire chest felt like it was going to explode. I am going to use absolute power to kill this man in front of me. Fate, Annihilation, Holy Spirit. Following Wu Xiangwen's shout, a dazzling saber light rushed up. The red flames on the saber's blade turned fiery red. Astral wind swept out in all directions with his feet as the center. Even the sky gradually darkened. Seeing this scene, everyone seemed to see hope. Such a powerful attack will definitely be able to kill a few thousand people. The ones who were the most shocked were the president and the 3 great martial kings beside him. Old Wu is about to break through to the martial king realm. Gao Han muttered, feeling incredulous. Felisa heaved a sigh of relief. As expected of old Wu, he finally released his full strength. Amazing! Ha! Wu Xiangwen shouted angrily, and his entire body was instantly enveloped in red flames like a ball of raging fire. His entire aura reached a peak state. That ball of red flames turned into a huge blade and attacked the rainbow-colored warrior with a scorching aura. The ground was instantly scorched, and even the soil was emitting flames. Such a move caused everyone to be dumbfounded. So powerful. Too powerful. Instant kill this group of trash. The Federation is mighty. Chapter 479. Boom! The red flames covered the sky and the earth, instantly enveloping all the 7 colored warriors. The huge spiritual pressure caused the entire ground to tremble, and cracks appeared. The air was burning and seething, and everyone in the Federation stood up. They stared fixedly at the screen. Elder Wu had actually used a single move to instantly kill tens of thousands of soldiers. Too amazing. This was true strength. Cheers rang out from every corner of Blue Blaze Planet. The warriors of the Federation had used their actions to prove that outsiders like you could only wait to be killed. Under old Wu's attack, turn all of you into dregs. Felisa was also stunned by Wu Xiangwen's strength. This move was simply too ferocious, and it had finally saved the Federation's face. It turned out that the enemy was not as terrifying as they had imagined. It was just a bluff, and there was nothing to be afraid of. However, after a while, everyone's joyful smiles froze. He stared at the screen in disbelief. How is this possible? Such a huge fire actually did not engulf those soldiers. The red flames gradually disappeared, and all the 7 colored warriors reappeared on the scene. They didn't feel the slightest bit of discomfort, and there wasn't even a trace of burn on them. He was still standing tall and straight, not moving an inch. Everyone exclaimed that it was impossible. They must have definitely cheated. This was all an illusion. It was all a lie. Even if the warriors at the back were fine, the warrior who was fighting alone would definitely be smashed to pieces. However, when the red flames completely disappeared, everyone on Blue Blaze Planet couldn't accept it. Why was this happening? How could a small soldier have such great strength? He actually grabbed the blade with one hand and was unscathed. That's right, the rainbow-colored warrior's right hand was tightly holding onto the blade in Wu Xiangwen's hand. He didn't even raise his head. It was as if this kind of attack couldn't even make him think of raising his head. Wu Xiangwen stared blankly at his saber and his opponent's helmet. He appeared to be in disbelief and inexplicable fear. He wanted to pull his saber away, but he found that his saber was tightly grasped by him, and he couldn't move at all. Bang! The rainbow warrior drew his saber. The speed at which he drew the sword was so fast that even Wu Xiangwen did not notice it. Puff! The blade in the seven-colored warrior's hand sank into Wu Xiangwen's body and pierced through his heart. The scene froze. The rainbow-colored warrior grabbed the blade with his right hand and pierced through their hope with his left. What a simple move. This kind of small fry had defeated the most powerful person in the Federation. At the same time, it had once again crushed everyone's confidence. Blood flowed down the rainbow blade, but Wu Xiangwen stared at the tallest man, as if he wanted to kill him with his eyes. The rainbow-colored warrior casually swung his hand, and Wu Xiangwen's aged body flew out like a cannonball, smashing a huge pit on the ground. With a turn of his body, he walked into the group and sheathed his saber. It was as if nothing had happened. However, looking at the several tens of thousands of rainbow-colored warriors, everyone felt despair. They could not even find the rainbow-colored warrior from before. They were too similar. Was this the strength of a soldier? He had killed the strongest person in the Federation with a single slash. If every single soldier had such strength, how could the Federation resist? There were still two mystical dragons eyeing them covetously. As the president of the Federation, Felisa had yet to react. Everything had happened too quickly. Old Wu had been killed by the other party in an instant. He didn't even have the chance to react. It would be fine if that man did such a thing, but the problem was, it was a soldier who did it. Looking at the rainbow-colored warrior not far away, the president who had a domineering aura just a moment ago felt a deep blow. There was no hope of winning at all. It was my lack of consideration that caused old Wu to be sacrificed for nothing. The three great martial kings were once again intimidated. They did not dare to have any thoughts of resisting. Ji Yang, who was at the side, was also dumbstruck. He was completely unable to accept the truth in front of his eyes. This is too fake. This is completely cheating. Yihua slowly stood up and looked down at the common people. Don't make any more pointless struggles, because what you all have seen is only the tip of the iceberg. If there were still any doubts in the past, then no one dared to doubt Yihua's words now. Because what he said was the truth, there was no exaggeration at all. This is a demon. Why would such a demon appear? That's right, why is there no justice to deal with this demon? People began to place their hopes on the heavens, hoping that the heavens would send a powerful warrior to save the common people. However, that was impossible. Even if there was, it would only increase unnecessary casualties. What exactly are you trying to do? Felisa shouted out gravely. He was completely unable to calm down and had lost the calm attitude that a president should have. Yihua said faintly, admit defeat. The current Yihua would not start a massacre, there was no need for that. After all, he was not the kind of person who would willfully kill the innocent. Admit defeat. Felisa muttered. The Federation has never had a president who admitted defeat before. Yihua said once again, if you admit defeat, then you will be able to save everyone on this planet, if not. This was the warning from the Supreme Overlord. Felisa understood what Yihua meant. If I don't admit defeat, then this army will wantonly massacre on my planet. Why is there still such an inhumane person under the heavens? The heavens are so unfair. President, please think thrice. President, you can't admit defeat. That's right, if we were to admit defeat, we would not have any face left. The three martial kings began speaking after the fact. Although they kept saying that they would not admit defeat, in actuality, the meaning behind their words was, quickly admit defeat, we don't have any hope of winning at all. The audience that was watching the video looked at their president, thinking in their hearts that their president had defeated the invaders, but at the same time, their brain's feedback was very real. If we can't win, then we should just be a coward first, then we will just have to find another chance to win. Everyone on the planet was waiting for the president's answer, because the president's answer was related to everyone's life. It is time to make a choice. I admit defeat. 3 words floated out from Felisa's mouth. Although everyone wanted to hear it very much, after hearing it, they felt a deep sense of humiliation. However, in front of this kind of absolute strength, what else could they do? Their president had made the wisest choice. He didn't fly into a rage out of humiliation, and used his dignity to exchange for a disaster. And when Felisa said those 3 words, he immediately felt a wave of dizziness. Ji Yang, who was at the side, hurriedly held on to his president, and his gaze did not have any trace of contempt. Instead, it was filled with even more admiration. This kind of pressure was not something that an ordinary person could withstand. As the president of the most advanced civilization in the Milky Way galaxy, for him to say those 3 words, it could be seen just how big of a blow he received. Is this the attitude you all have when admitting defeat? Yihua asked coldly. You all confidently charged over and wanted to kill my entire family, and you all only said those 3 words. Chapter 480. Felisa looked at Yihua, who was in the sky, and seemed to understand what Yihua meant. He pushed Ji Yang, who was beside him, away. Your Excellency President. Ji Yang shouted out. Felisa muttered, for the entire cerulean planet, I have no choice but to do this. Right after he finished speaking, Felisa knelt down onto the ground and lowered his noble head. He completely didn't have the posture that he had a moment ago. Seeing that their president knelt down, everyone choked with sobs, and some of the ladies even started crying non-stop. On the plaza of the various main cities, as well as in the various cities, voices rang out. Your Excellency President, good job. Your Excellency President. We still have the strength to fight. Your Excellency President actually knelt down for us, woo-woo. The 3 martial kings behind Felisa cried out in surprise, Your Excellency President, you mustn't do this. You guys go up then. Felisa shouted out angrily. These 3 martial kings only know how to talk and not how to do it. When the 3 martial kings heard what the president said, they immediately went silent. I can't afford to go up, I really can't afford to go up, if I go up, I will die. Yihua, who was standing in front of the throne, paused for a moment, then said faintly, My family is only here for a vacation. Since you have admitted defeat sincerely, I naturally won't make things difficult for you. The hell? This isn't considered ugly. Then what is considered ugly? Yihua expressed that Heaven's imperial city is the real ugly one. However, hearing that Yihua didn't plan to pursue the matter, everyone let out a breath of relief. This person isn't that bad after all. Some people even felt that Yihua and his family were only here for a vacation, and the president came to snatch it after knowing that the other party had a cosmos artifact. If that's the case, it is the president's fault. Ji Yang immediately helped the president up, meaning that it's fine if I just kneel down, I can't keep kneeling like this. Meanwhile, Yihua pulled Shitingting out and said faintly, From now on, Shitingting will be my representative. Felisa thought that Yihua wanted to snatch away his position as the president, but he didn't expect that Yihua would just push out a woman to be his representative. Everyone, disperse. After doing everything, Yihua didn't have the mood to continue. One of the purposes of this trip had already been achieved. Along with a wave of Yihua's hand, the rainbow-colored divine dragon, rainbow-colored warrior, and that majestic throne all turned into smoke and disappeared into the horizon. This move shocked everyone. Were those illusions created by the clouds? How could they be so powerful? Felisa was also a little confused. So they really were all colorful clouds. The three great martial kings were also wondering if this was a good opportunity. After using such a powerful spell, he definitely could not use it a second time. However, he didn't mention it. What if someone else had enough? That would be courting death. He immediately dispelled this terrifying thought. Felisa cupped his hands towards Yihua, and all of the soldiers once again stepped onto the warship and disappeared into the sky. There was only one thought in their minds. They were finally able to leave this place alive. How lucky! As soon as the president left, everyone hurriedly left. In the future, if they ran into them, they should scram as far as possible. Who knew how many people would die if they lost their temper? In actuality, even if Yihua didn't take the initiative to create trouble, there would always be someone who came to create trouble for him. If Yihua didn't take the initiative to create trouble, there would be even more trouble in the future. At the very least, it would be like this in Blue Blaze Star. After all, Yihua was here for a vacation, and he didn't want to let trouble get close to him. The family slowly descended. Tingting went back first, her brain had too much information to digest. Dong Huangli and Brett walked into the house, not disturbing Yihua. Yihua took the opportunity to hug onto the waists of his two wives. Looking at their dazed expressions, he felt that he might be able to have a beautiful life tonight. Upon thinking about how it would look if he were to place Qingye and Donghuang Baiji on the bed together, Yihua couldn't hold himself back anymore. Don't you two want to say anything? After waiting for a long time, seeing that the two of them still didn't speak, Yihua took the initiative to ask. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji could be seen taking a look at each other, then standing at the side, they shouted out, "Hubby 666, Hubby 666, Yihua laughed bitterly. These two really know how to shout 666. However, what I, the Supreme Overlord, want is not this. Hugging onto the two little century eggs, Yihua said lightly, "Don't go out today, the two of you accompany me." Qingye and Donghuang Baiji still don't know what their husband is thinking. He is wholeheartedly thinking of carrying the two of us on the bed and bullying us together. However, I just can't get over the hurdle in my heart. Although I want to satisfy my husband's desire, I am still very opposed to this kind of method. Seeing that the two wives didn't speak anymore, Yihua knew that they were still not willing to do that. Sigh, life is so depressing. Yihua let out a long sigh. Other emperors all have 3 palaces and 6 courtyards, but look at me, I only have the 2 of you. Can't you just satisfy my small wish? Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, "Yihua, give us a bit of time." "That's right, don't force us." Qingye said pitifully. She is willing to do anything for her husband, but she is very opposed to this. Then, how long do you think we need to wait? Yihua asked gravely. It is fine to use violence to press them down, but Yihua wants to use virtue to win them over, just like what happened just now. Hubby sob, 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 hubby sob, sob, sob. When the two women acted coquettishly together, even Yihua was a bit unable to resist. I, the Supreme Overlord, am able to win against everyone in the world, the only people I cannot afford to offend are my 2 wives. With helplessness, Yihua carried his wives and walked into the house. The tour still has to continue. Although the tour still has to continue, the places that only Yihua appeared in were originally packed with people, and all of them ran away. Only Donghuang Li's 2 new friends, Fei Bai and Zish Qingyi, did not run away. Sometimes, Donghuang Li would even go out with them to play. A week passed by in a blink of an eye. To be honest, I have not even finished touring around Longpan City. This small city is already so big, wouldn't the main city be even bigger? There's also the Imperial City, the center of the entire cerulean star. Yihua felt that he had to increase his speed and head straight to the Imperial City to take a look. After all, that was the capital of Cerulean Star. Tingting did not follow Yihua to the Imperial City, because her main focus was on Longpan City, which was Yihua's base. Seeing that his daughter and her new friends were reluctant to part, Yihua chuckled lightly. Big brother Fei, big sister Qingyi, you two must stay together. Oli still wants to come and drink your wedding wine. Dong Huangli held onto the two's hands and persuaded earnestly. Zish Qingyi's face slightly reddened, while Fei Bai had an awkward look on his face. Being persuaded by a child, how can I not feel awkward? Big brother Fei, you have to be more proactive, if not, you will not have a wife in the future. Big sister Qingyi, just give big brother Fei a chance. Dong Huangli persuaded. Chapter 481. This is a good thing. This means that Oli cares about others. Yihua said faintly. That's true. Looking at little Oli's serious expression, it was really funny. It was as if others would feel sorry for her if they didn't become a couple. Big brother Fei, Oli is truly worried about you. If big sister Qingyi runs away with someone else in the future, you will definitely regret it. Seeing that Fei Bai still didn't take any action, Dong Huangli couldn't help but want to provoke Fei Bai. Needless to say, this provocation was very useful. Fei Bai hugged Zish Qingyi's shoulder. Oli, don't worry. Brother Fei won't disappoint you. Zish Qingyi struggled a little and glared fiercely at Fei Bai. How dare he act like this in front of a child? Sister Qingyi, brother Fei is actually pretty good. Oli congratulates you too. As he spoke, he even cupped his hands together. Zish Qingyi squatted down, then lightly hugged onto Dong Huangli. Although the time that Zish Qingyi spent with Dong Huangli was very short, Zish Qingyi truly liked Dong Huangli. On the surface, Dong Huangli looked like a child, but in actuality, she was very sensible. Oli, I will miss you. Dong Huangli consoled Oli, and Li will miss you too. This time, after going to the Imperial City, the whole family planned to go back and not return to Longpan City. Thus, this could be considered as a farewell. Sir. At this moment, Tingting walked over slowly. She was dressed very beautifully today. Yihua nodded his head. In the future, I will leave this place to you. Make use of the resources that you have in your hands to properly develop this place. Sir, I know. I won't let you down. Tingting felt that her husband's family were all good people, and she didn't understand those who were not good at all. At this time, Brett also appeared. She had just gone to pay her respects to her grandfather who had raised her. After leaving this time, it was likely that she would rarely come back. Alright, let's go. Yihua shouted out faintly, then walked onto the flagship. Dong Huangli, who was being carried by her mother, waved her hand towards Fei Bai and Zish Qingyi. Goodbye, bye. Oli, everyone watched as the spaceship disappeared from their sight and let out a deep breath. Let go. Zish Qingyi said coldly. Fei Bai instantly cowered and retracted his hand. However, he still smiled and said, Qingyi, I think Oli is right. You better go get a room. With a cold snort, Zish Qingyi turned and left. Fei Bai was very depressed. He was still thinking about the number of times he had booked a room. He was really just playing cards and did not do anything. Tingting's eyes were filled with determination. The next time she saw Mr., she would definitely let him see her achievements and make him proud. Sitting inside the flagship version of the luxurious flying ship, Yihua leaned onto the soft sofa and enjoyed the massage from the Empress. Yihua felt incomparably comfortable. However, at the same time, Yihua's brows wrinkled. Qinya, who was currently peeling the grape, discovered her husband's expression. There are really very few things that can make her husband frown. Something must have happened. Dongwang Baiji saw it too, and she asked hurriedly, Yihua, what happened? Yihua did not say anything and listened to Wei Chang's report. After a long while, Yihua said gravely, we will be going back now, the tour will be temporarily suspended. Yihua, what happened? Dongwang Baiji asked anxiously. Dongwang Li was also frowning, just like her father. Brett, on the other hand, was a little happy. It would be best if he could go back early. He wanted to ask that swindler. Baiji, the news about Voidless Realm's longevity fruit has been leaked. Yihua said gravely. Dongwang Baiji cried out in shock. She found it hard to believe. How is this possible? Who leaked the news? Dongwang Baiji asked hurriedly. The reason why Yihua frowned was because he didn't know who leaked the news about Voidless Realm's longevity fruit. Wei Chang and Zhu Tian weren't able to find out who leaked the news about Voidless Realm's longevity fruit. The enemy hiding in the dark is very cunning. The enemy actually used the move that I originally prepared to deal with them. Let's talk about it after we return. Yihua said coldly, and the few of them instantly disappeared from the interior of the flying ship. This flagship version of the flying ship might have to keep flying until its energy is depleted. Earth. Longthan City, leisure bar, bedroom on the second floor. Everyone returned to where they started, and there was still a big suitcase on the ground. The clothes inside the suitcase had not been cleaned up yet. Yihua, I will go back and take a look first. Dongwang Baiji said anxiously. Yihua nodded his head. Qinya followed Dongwang Baiji and went back to help, and even the little fellow, Dongwang Li, went back to help her mommy. Right now, Yihua gathered his 7 deadly sins. One reason was to ask them about the situation, and the other was to welcome Brett back. When Yizizi saw Brett, her jaw almost dropped onto the ground, and she asked exaggeratedly, You are Brett? Brett rolled his eyes at Yizizi. This Yizizi really didn't change at all, she still likes to make a fuss over nothing. Meanwhile, Yizizi discovered that Brett also didn't change, he had always been this cool. Brett, why did your hair become white, the color of your eyeballs also changed, and more importantly, why did you become shorter? Even your breasts are gone, ha 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 ha. Yizizi laughed until she was rolling on the ground. Finally, she seized the opportunity to tease Brett. This Brett, in the past, he was so sexy, everything was bigger than me. Look at now, everything is smaller than me, how can Yizizi not laugh until the sky is rolling on the ground? Brett ignored Yizizi's ridicule. She is just a child, I don't need to lower myself to her level. Wei Chang and Lai Gu rushed over at the same time, and when they saw the shorty Brett, they were both stupefied. Brett, did you go through puberty again? In actuality, Lai Gu had feelings for Brett in the past, but Brett didn't even look at Lai Gu and only liked Zhu Tian. None of your business. Brett said faintly. Lai Gu immediately shut up. Her temper is still as explosive as before, if she saw Zhu Tian right now, would she go berserk? Wei Chang smiled but didn't say anything. When Zhu Tian, who was dressed in a white western suit, appeared, one could clearly feel the anger that Brett was emitting out. When Zhu Tian, who was dressed in a white western suit, appeared, he was also very shocked. His honor didn't even tell me that Brett has returned. Zhu Tian didn't pay attention to Brett. Meanwhile, Brett also didn't pay attention to Zhu Tian. Meanwhile, the other people who were sandwiched in the middle could feel the negative energy that was being transmitted between them. Yihua sat on the high chair at the bar counter, poured himself a cup of wine, then asked faintly, just what is going on? You all actually didn't receive any news about this matter. His honor was angry, and everyone immediately kneeled onto the ground. Your honor, please calm down, subordinate has failed in handling this matter. Have you discovered anything yet? Yihua asked coldly. Zhu Tian said respectfully, Your Honor, subordinate feels that we should properly deal with Voidless Realms matter. Right now, regardless of whether it is the south or the north, everyone is saying that Voidless Realm is secretly hiding secret treasures. Especially those small families in the north, they are making a huge fuss about this matter, and it seems like they have been deceived. They are all people who forget morality at the sight of profit. Lai Gu snorted. Chapter 482. Conquering people with violence was not what Yihua wanted, he wanted to conquer people with virtue. Yihua took a sip of wine. Where did the news come from? Zhu Tian said gravely, Your Honor, the news came from the aristocratic family of the north, Guan family. But your wife's Guan family. Right after Yihua said this, he felt that Brett was about to go berserk. Your Honor, that is my maid. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained. That's right, she is a maid, continue. Zhu Tian let out a breath. It's just that the entire Guan family was exterminated, and Guan Yanxin had always been with me, thus she managed to escape. This made Yihua very surprised. The Guan family of the north was also an aristocratic family, and their strength was not to be looked down upon. Seems like the opponent is quite powerful, and the news that they released is clearly aimed at me. Interesting, this is much more interesting than those arrogant and conceited people. Knowing that they are not my opponent, they decided to attack me from another angle. I like this kind of opponent, and only by defeating this kind of opponent will I be able to show how high my intelligence is. Dong dong dong, the sound of footsteps could be heard coming from the stairs, and Qing Yutong walked down while yawning. Everyone looked towards Qing Yutong, and Qing Yutong also noticed that her brother-in-law was having a mobilization meeting. I will only take a bag of spicy gluten, you all can continue. I will be leaving first. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong didn't even take a bag of spicy gluten, turned around, and ran. Yihua took out a bag of spicy gluten, your spicy gluten. Qing Yutong could be seen standing on the stairs and saying sweetly, your spicy gluten. This was a perfect interaction between brother-in-law and sister-in-law, causing the 5 subordinates to blush with shame. Seems like there will definitely be one more wife in the future, it is just a matter of time. Placing the spicy gluten at the side, Yihua asked again, do you know who did it? Or the suspect? Zhu Tian shook his head, then said, all of them were killed with a single slash, very nimble. When did this happen? Last night, and we only received the news today. Zhu Tian said. When Guan Yanxin heard that her entire family was exterminated, she fainted on the spot. Even when she woke up, she was still bawling loudly. When she finally stabilized, Guan Yanxin was accompanied by Dongfang Yue. Wei Chang said respectfully, Your Honor, the other party's intention is very obvious, they want to release the news about the longevity fruit. Then, why did you kill them to silence them? Yihua asked. All of His Honor's subordinates were startled. His Honor's examination is coming again. Brett didn't understand the situation yet, so he remained silent. However, this time, Yizizi suddenly raised her small hand and said sweetly, Your Honor, I know. Oh. Tell me about it then. Yihua didn't expect that Yizizi would still be the first to answer his question. Yizizi said with a smile, in actuality, their real purpose is to exterminate Guan family, and coincidentally, they found out about the whereabouts of the longevity fruit. However, they are rather afraid of Voidless Realm, and thus, they can deduce that Voidless Realm's strength isn't that strong. Thus, they decided to spread rumors to attack Voidless Realm. Yizizi's explanation stunned everyone present. What an incisive reasoning. Even Yihua was shocked. Yizizi, who has never used her brain, is actually able to say such a thing right now. This is simply too amazing. She can't be a fake, right? Wei Chang and Absolute Heaven agreed with Yi Zizi's conjecture. Lai Gu, go and look for those corpses and see who they met with when they were alive. Yi Hua said faintly. Yes. Zhu Tian, continue to investigate. I really want to see who exactly is the one that is pulling the strings from behind. Yes. Wei Chang, pay attention to Nanbei family's movements, see what actions they will take after finding out about the longevity fruit. Yes. After waiting for a long time, Yi Zizi still didn't receive any missions, thus she asked hurriedly, Your Honor, what about me? Continue to go to school. Yi Hua took a look at Brett. I have to make some arrangements. Meanwhile, Brett took the initiative and said, Your Honor, I wish to investigate together with Zhu Tian. Your Honor, I alone am enough. Zhu Tian said hurriedly. Yi Hua was a bit vexed. In the past, it was still fine, Zhu Tian didn't have a chance to find a woman, and thus, Brett didn't have a chance to talk about it. But right now, Zhu Tian got 2 women at once, it would be weird if Brett didn't make a fuss. How am I going to appease my subordinates? This is also a problem. If not, should I order Zhu Tian to marry Brett? This is a bit difficult. After all, both parties must be willing to marry each other. I might as well let them live together for a period of time. Perhaps Zhu Tian has already gotten over it and might even accept Brett. If that happens, they will stop messing around. Brett, I agree to your request, you and Zhu Tian will investigate together. Brett knelt on the ground and said respectfully, Thank you, Your Honor, for fulfilling my request. These 5 words are so destructive, it seems as if they are going to cut Zhu Tian into pieces. Meanwhile, Zhu Tian's expression finally changed. This Brett is truly not someone that I can afford to offend. Alright, today's meeting will end here, you can disperse now. Yi Hua waved his hand, then walked up to the 2nd floor. Meanwhile, Wei Chang, Lai Gu, and Yi Zizi immediately left. The 2 of them still have a lot of things to talk about. The shorty Brett glared at Zhu Tian, while Zhu Tian didn't give Brett a chance to look at him. Zhu Tian. What do you mean by that? Brett shouted out. Just that, for Brett to say something like that with his current body, he seemed a bit too mature. Zhu Tian let out a breath, Brett, it has already been a few hundred years, you still haven't gotten over it? Zhu Tian. Since I, Brett, have taken a fancy to you, I won't change my mind. Brett still maintained his firm conviction. Even after so many years have passed, his conviction still didn't waver in the slightest. Zhu Tian seemed to know that Brett would say this, just what exactly have you taken a fancy to? I will change, alright. If you become a female cat, I will let you go. F***K, this is truly impossible to change. Seeing that Zhu Tian didn't say anything, Brett questioned, I heard that you have 2 wives. They are maids. Zhu Tian added. They are indeed maids. Alright. If they are maids, then did you touch them? I did. Furthermore, Zhu Tian did. Brett's pupils could be seen immediately shrinking, and his entire body disappeared from the spot. Zhu Tian paused for a moment, then hurriedly dodged. Brett! Have you gone mad? Zhu Tian shouted out coldly. This Brett actually wants to cut me up. Brett held onto a dagger and said eerily, since I can't use it, other women can forget about using it as well. Zhu Tian, right now, Zhu Tian was in despair. I didn't expect that Brett would be this crazy. Brett! This is his honor's place, if you break anything, you will be punished by his honor. Fine, I will punish you. Just wait until I cut you up, you heartless bastard, I will be willing to punish you with anything. You! Chapter 483. Absolute Heaven was powerless to refute Brett's words. In actuality, Yihua had been standing at the top and listening to the conversation. As expected, Brett wouldn't be able to take it. This Zhu Tian is also an honest person. Would he die if he spoke a lie? This person's personality is a bit similar to the Supreme Overlord's. He would never lie. Hearing Brett's question, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice, "Brett, we are all adults." "I'm not." Little Brett immediately denied. He was still a child. Looking at that small body, Zhu Tian said, "All right, even if your body isn't, your heart is. Can you use the method of an adult to solve the problem?" "All right. Die. Either I die, or you live." Brett's big tears finally fell uncontrollably. This swindler liked women from the very beginning. He actually lied to him for hundreds of years. Absolute Heaven was also enraged, angrily saying, "Brett, can't you be a little more rational? Don't get angry at the slightest provocation. Look at how gentle you is." Yihua, who was upstairs, shook his head. "You are showing off your love in front of Brett, Absolute Heavens. Did a dog eat your brain? You think I have a bad temper, but you say other women are gentle. Absolute Heaven. I will perish together with you today." Brett's left hand froze. The white jade bow appeared in his hand, and as he placed his right hand on the bowstring, an earth-shattering aura erupted. "He's truly insane," Absolute Heaven muttered. If this arrow were to be shot out, it would cause a lot of casualties, and Yihua had no choice but to stop it. Enough. An awe-inspiring aura entered their ears. Absolute Heaven, who had originally assumed a defensive stance, stood up straight. Meanwhile, the colored glass arrow on Brett's bow had yet to dissipate, and it was still aimed at Absolute Heaven. Yihua's expression sunk as he shouted out, "Brett, put it down. Your Honor, Zhu Tian is too much of a bully." Brett shouted out while choking with sobs, and tears of grievance flowed out from Brett's eyes. "Put down your weapon first. We can talk things out." Brett sobbed and shouted out, "Your Honor, Zhu Tian isn't willing to talk to me properly. I ordered him to speak properly." Hearing this, Brett slowly put down the white jade bow in his hand. Yihua was also vexed. "If it was me, I would also choose someone who is gentle, and not this kind of person who has a bad temper." It would seem that Absolute Heaven thought so as well. "I, the Supreme Overlord, do not wish for any disagreements to appear within the group, or for any other matters to cause our relationship to break apart," Yihua said faintly while looking at the two of them. Absolute Heaven and Brett lowered their heads in silence. "Brett, are you going to marry Zhu Tian?" "Yes," Brett answered decisively without any hesitation. Yihua nodded his head. In actuality, for one of the 7 deadly sins to have such a joyous occasion, it was already very good. The main point was Zhu Tian's attitude. "Absolute Heaven, do you like Brett?" "Answer truthfully." "I don't like it." Absolute Heaven's reply was also very decisive. Brett was confused. He turned around and asked, "Why don't you like me, but 2 human women?" "His Honor requested it." Brett turned his head and looked towards His Honor. "If His Honor was the one who gave the order, I can still understand. Damn it, it's your subordinate who did something wrong, and you're actually trying to push the blame onto me." In actuality, what Zhu Tian said was the truth. Back then, Yihua's order was just like that, everything had to be reasonable. Zhu Tian had no choice but to use Lai Gu's method to subdue Guan Yanxin and Dongfang Yuan. Although Zhu Tian did it with an ulterior motive, Zhu Tian seemed to have fallen in love with that feeling. In any case, looking at Guan Yanxin and Dongfang Yuan begging for forgiveness, Zhu Tian felt especially refreshed. Especially Dongfang Yuan, Ju Tian felt more and more refreshed, to the point where Ju Tian was a bit infatuated with her. However, if Ju Tian wanted to be like Brett, it would simply be impossible. After all, with Brett's powerful physique, he would definitely not reveal an appearance that would make Ju Tian feel very refreshed. Furthermore, Brett's temper was also bad, and he liked to be a queen. How could he be as obedient as Dongfang Yuaner and Guan Yanxin? If it was Brett, Yihua would definitely be a female knight. In actuality, Ju Tian had never liked Brett's personality. Now that he had tasted the gentleness of a human woman, he disliked Brett even more. Brett, I didn't think too much about this matter, and Ju Tian had no choice but to take action in order to complete the mission that I gave him. For the sake of the team's harmony, Ju Tian felt that he had to explain Ju Tian's actions. Since his honor had spoken, Brett glared at Ju Tian and said, "Is what his honor said truly true?" "Yes." Ju Tian said faintly. "Then, after you complete the mission, kill the two of them." Brett chose to forgive Ju Tian. After all, this was a mission that his honor had given to him. "Impossible," Ju Tian said resolutely. You just like them, you lied to me." Brett shouted out coldly, and the white jade bow in his hand appeared once again. Ju Tian was very annoyed, and he said straightforwardly, "That's right. I just like them." "You, Ju Tian, you weren't like this in the past. Is it because I became small and no longer good-looking? Just wait for a few more years, I will still be very sexy." Brett's tone could be seen immediately changing, and a pleading tone could be heard. Ju Tian shook his head, then shouted out gravely, "Brett, it has already been a few hundred years, could it be that you still can't see it? I don't like you at all." Following Ju Tian's words, the atmosphere seemed to have become still. Brett looked at Ju Tian in disbelief. Although he had said such words before in the past, this was the first time that Brett heard such a tone from Ju Tian. Brett's entire body was on the verge of collapsing, and he felt as if he had been abandoned by the entire world. Brett was very sad about his grandfather's death, and before he could even finish feeling sad, he was cruelly rejected by the man that he liked. Brett was unable to endure the consecutive blows. Brett's white hair could be seen gradually turning black, and his originally green eyes had also turned black. His small body was growing at a speed that was visible to the naked eye, and in an instant, he became an enchanting woman that was 1.8 meters tall. There wasn't a single trace of fat on his body, and those towering breasts of his, they were simply enough to make others blush with shame. That exquisite face of hers was enough to make all men go crazy, as expected of a female elf. Due to his clothes bursting, Brett was currently completely naked. Ju Tian didn't even take a look at Brett. Meanwhile, Yihua let out a light sigh, then took out a blanket and covered Brett's body. God wanted Brett to start anew, but I didn't expect that in the end, he would still become a dark elf. If I had known, I would have let Brett stay in Blue Blaze Planet. Ju Tian, are you not even willing to take a look at me right now? Brett asked coldly. Ju Tian stood respectfully, then said faintly, "Brett, we are all his honor's subordinates, in front of his honor, please maintain some respect." Chapter 484. Looking at Brett who had disappeared, Yihua's expression wasn't very good, but he still didn't say anything. "Your honor, please forgive this subordinate's incompetence." Yihua shook his head, "This isn't related to you, Brett is too stubborn, if he isn't able to overcome this hurdle." Ju Tian went into a daze. Is his honor trying to expel Brett from the 7 deadly sins? "Your honor, although Brett is a bit stubborn and has a bad temper, he is absolutely loyal to your honor." All the missions were completed with flying colors. Yihua pinched onto the bridge of his nose and said indifferently, "I naturally know of Brett's loyalty, and you shouldn't have provoked her like that just now." This subordinate is only speaking the truth. I hope that your honor can forgive me. Forget it, forget it. I don't want to get involved in the matters between you two. Yi Hua stood up and said faintly. This Brett's stubbornness is even harder to deal with than Yi Zizi's stubbornness. This isn't something that can be changed in an instant. Forcefully suppressing it would only make the situation even more complicated. Originally, Absolute Heaven had thought that Brett's return would be a joyous occasion. He never imagined that things would turn out like this. If he tried to accept Brett, maybe Brett would become an obedient woman after marriage. After all, a woman could be coaxed. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were two very good examples of what Yihua could do. After all, if you don't coax a woman, she'll do whatever you want. Suddenly, Zhu Tian's expression changed. Your honor, subordinate needs to leave immediately. Yihua turned his head around and asked, what happened? Brett took you away. Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Just now, Guan Yanxin had called out to him. After finished speaking, Zhu Tian disappeared. Yihua let out a light sigh, then followed after Zhu Tian and went to take a look at what was going on. Not only did something happen to this wife's family, but something happened to me as well. In Zijin City, the original Shao family's residence had already been changed to the Eastern family's residence. Very quickly, Zhu Tian appeared at the scene. Zhu Tian, just now, a naked woman directly brought Dongfang Yu away. Guan Yanxin sat on the bed and cried loudly. Just a moment ago, Dongfang Yu was still consoling herself, and suddenly, a naked woman suddenly appeared and asked who Dongfang Yu was. Dongfang Yu was quite honest and said that she was the one. Just as she finished speaking, she was brought away by Brett. Absolute Heaven's complexion was very ugly. Currently, Dongfang Yu had risen to a more important position in Absolute Heaven's eyes. He never expected that Brett would directly rush here and take you away. Zhu Tian, think of a way to save you, I. Guan Yanxin had received too many blows today, and she couldn't take it anymore and fainted. Absolute Heaven examined Shao Chen's body. Shao Chen only had a deficiency in his qi and was not a big deal. He would be fine as long as he replenished his qi in the future. Yihua, who was outside the door, let out a sigh of relief. All of you are making me worry. My subordinate actually kidnapped my subordinate's wife. What is going on? Wasn't this just bullshit? Yihua sensed Brett's aura. Unexpectedly, Brett was intentionally hiding his aura. It seems like Brett is determined to make Zhu Tian regret his actions. Your honor. Zhu Tian arrived in front of Yihua and said while cupping his hands. His connection with Dongfang Yuan had been cut off by Brett, and he was completely unable to locate Dongfang Yuan. Zhu Tian, you don't have to be too anxious. After all, Brett is a woman, and she won't do anything to Dongfang Yu. After all, she doesn't have the ability to do that. Yihua said faintly. Zhu Tian said gravely, Your honor, Brett will abuse you. I am very clear about Brett. That was indeed true. Brett loved to abuse captives, and it was the kind of abuse that a queen would abuse captives. I will think of a way. Yihua said gravely. Thank you, Your honor. Put aside the mission that you are currently working on first. Let's find Brett and Dongfang Yuan first. Yihua said coldly. This Brett is becoming more and more outrageous. This time, I have to give her a severe punishment. Zhu Tian felt touched, and he bowed down. Thank you, Your honor, for understanding. And I will be leaving first. Take good care of this Guan Yanxin. It isn't easy for her to do so. Subordinate thanks Your honor on behalf of Guan Yanxin. Yihua nodded his head, then disappeared from the bedroom. Right now, Zhu Tian appeared to be very heavy. Brett is truly insane. She is capable of doing anything. Doesn't she know that doing something like that would anger his honor? Brett also threw caution to the wind. Even if his honor wants to punish me, I will make Ju Tian regret his actions. Yihua returned to the bedroom and coincidentally, Qinya also returned. Yihua, where did you go just now? Qinya poured a cup of water and asked curiously. Yihua let out a sigh. A small matter happened on my side. How is the situation at Voidless Realm? Guan family was exterminated in a single night, and the disappearance of the longevity fruit caused all of the big families to become restless. There are also those powers that are hiding in the dark. In any case, everyone wants to obtain the longevity fruit right now, so they are using morality to blackmail us. Qinya shook her head. This is too scary, to actually use morality to attack us. Do you have any countermeasures? Qinya shook her head. Baiji is currently extremely busy. On one hand, I have to find the culprit, and on the other hand, I have to calm down all of the big families. Leave the matter of the culprit to me. You all should properly deal with those greedy people. Qinya smiled sweetly, then hugged onto her husband tightly and buried her head onto Yihua's firm chest. Hubby, you are the best. Someone came to cause trouble. How can I let you all suffer a loss? Yihua lightly caressed onto Qinya's back and said coldly. Qinya was elated and asked curiously, what do you mean by small matter just now? Brett and Ju Tian fell out. Yihua laughed bitterly. Ah! Did they really break up? In actuality, both Qinya and Donghuang Baiji had guessed it before, and both of them felt that the possibility of Donghuang Baiji falling out with Donghuang Baiji was very high. And Brett has captured Dongfang Yu. He wants to make absolute heaven regret it. What? Qinya was stupefied. How is this a small matter? This is obviously a big matter. Don't worry about us then, quickly deal with this matter first. Qinya said hurriedly. Qinya was still very considerate towards Yihua. Yihua said faintly, it's fine, I have a lot of people on my side, it will be fine if we split up and take care of things. Brett is actually a pitiful woman. Don't make things difficult for her. Yihua said in a low voice, you don't have to worry about this, I have my own plans. Alright then, I will be returning to Voidless Realm first. For the next few days, Baiji and I will not be able to accompany you. Qinya kissed Yihua and said with a slight smile. In the future, I'll calculate it all together. You're dead. After Qinya left, Yihua walked towards the office, and coincidentally, Yizizi came out from the office. Your Honor, did they quarrel? Yizizi asked curiously. Go and do your homework, you don't have to worry about these things. Ba, Yizizi made a face, then went downstairs to get some spicy gluten. Sitting on the sofa in the office, Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Very quickly, Lai Gu came to report. Your Honor, subordinate has finished investigating. Take a look. Yihua said faintly. Chapter 485. Looking at those corpses, Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. Your Honor, the other party is quite strong. Lai Gu said. To actually be able to use the sealing technique to seal off the entire Guan family, a large group of masked black-clothed men began massacring the entire Guan family. However, Yihua was also able to see their boss. This should be the perspective of Guan family's patriarch. Guan family's patriarch, 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 Guan family's face could not be seen. Lai Gu, what kind of technique is this blood pool forbidden technique? This subordinate does not know. Yihua saw that the family head took out a red shard and handed it over to the boss, trying to beg for his life. However, it seemed like the boss wouldn't let him live at all. Sure enough, in order to survive, the family head spilled out Voidless Realm's secret. Yi Zizi's conjecture was right. It was actually true. Your Honor, these people don't seem to be targeting us. Lai Gu said respectfully. Oh. Tell me about it. Yihua laughed lightly. When did this Lai Gu know how to use his brain? Didn't he always use his lower body to think about problems? Lai Gu appeared to be very serious. In actuality, he had already received the news an hour ago. As for why Lai Gu did not appear, it was because Lai Gu went to cheat. Lai Gu hurriedly went back and asked his 3 wives. To be honest, Lai Gu's 3 wives are all intelligent. After analyzing for an hour, he finally came to a conclusion. Although he didn't know if it was correct or not, at least it was possible. Isn't this Lai Gu trying to claim credit for himself? Your Honor, these people's goal is that blood pool forbidden technique, and as for the longevity fruit, I only obtained the information by chance. Then, why did they spread it out? Yihua asked. A diversion. The corner of Lai Gu's mouth began to rise upwards. This is the conclusion that the 3 wives came up with. Furthermore, this is an idiom, and it is able to encompass the entire purpose of this matter. As expected, after Yihua heard it, he was startled and said, Lai Gu, you did well. Hearing his honor's praise, Lai Gu nearly revealed his true form. I am truly so excited. Go on. Continue. Anything else? Lai Gu immediately went into a daze. My wives didn't teach me about the follow-up either. What happened? This group of people, they just want to. Yihua's brows wrinkled. When did this Lai Gu learn to keep me in suspense? In the end, it's still my appetite that's being whetted. Does it want to be stewed by me? That's right. When Lai Gu saw his honor's gaze, he immediately got a fright. His honor is definitely thinking about how to stew me. They want to use this kind of method to deceive others and make everyone's attention be placed on Voidless Realm. Then, they will be able to do whatever they want to do. Lai Gu said everything in one breath. Hearing Lai Gu's explanation, Yihua slightly leaned back and leaned onto the sofa. This is a bit possible. He used the matter of the longevity fruit to divert everyone's attention while he quietly worked on the side. After all, from their attitude, it seemed that they were after the blood pool forbidden technique from the beginning, not the longevity fruit. Your speculation is not bad. Yihua said gravely. Lai Gu was delighted. I didn't expect that the nonsense that I spouted would actually be acknowledged by his honor. I am really lucky today. Thank you for your praise, your honor. Go look for Brett's whereabouts. She had a falling out with Absolute Heaven and even captured Dongfang Yu. Brett captured Dongfang Yu. Wouldn't Absolute Heaven explode from anger? Lai Gu cried out in astonishment. After all, Absolute Heaven would come to teach Lai Gu from time to time, and Lai Gu was very generous and imparted all of his martial arts to Absolute Heaven without holding anything back. Let's find her first. Yihua decided that after finding Brett, he would first put her under house arrest in a bar and let her sober up. This Absolute Heaven has already said it so clearly, why can't I let go of her? Brett naturally couldn't let go of Absolute Heaven. I have loved Absolute Heaven alone for hundreds of years, who would be able to endure Absolute Heaven's sudden love? Not killing Dongfang Yu, and Guan Yanxin on the spot was already giving Absolute Heaven a lot of face. However, Brett kidnapped Dongfang Yu, and brought her to a very cold place. North Pole. At this very moment, Dongfang Yu, was wearing a thin summer dress and was sitting on the cold surface of the ice. The surrounding was a world of ice and snow, and pieces of ice were floating on the surface of the sea. From time to time, a bone-piercing cold wind would blow over, causing Dongfang Yu to tightly hug onto her legs. Her entire body was trembling, and even her lips were trembling. On the other hand, Brett was completely naked as he stood in front of Dongfang Yu and looked down at the weak and small woman in front of him. I completely can't understand why absolute heaven would like this kind of woman. Other than having a weak and delicate appearance, what other use does she have? I can kill her with just a light touch. Weak to the point that it makes one's hair stand on end. However, it was precisely this kind of woman who didn't beg for mercy even after being captured until now, and had only tightly hugged onto me to keep myself warm. However, it was precisely this kind of action that caused Brett to become even angrier. Why aren't you begging for mercy? If you were to beg for mercy, I would feel comfortable in my heart. You are the one who snatched away my man, and you are still acting so righteous. Do you know who I am? Brett questioned coldly. Dongfang Yu's personality was just like this, using silence to resist against your violence. Speak. Brett grabbed onto Dongfang Yu's chin, and Dongfang Yu just looked at Brett without saying a word. Dongfang Yu's silence caused Brett to become even angrier, and he really wanted to crush her throat. However, in the end, Brett still endured it. Brett ruthlessly flung Dongfang Yu and the weak and small Dongfang Yu fell onto the ice surface. Following which, Brett curled up her body. This woman definitely wanted to capture me to threaten absolute heaven. This way, it would be better for her to die, and absolute heaven would not be threatened, nor would he be injured. Time passed by minute, and the cold wind became stronger and stronger. Dongfang Yu was simply unable to endure this kind of cold, and a thin layer of ice gradually appeared on her body. Her hands and feet became stiff, and her consciousness also started to become blurry. Absolute heaven's figure involuntarily appeared in her mind, revealing a shallow smile. Meanwhile, when Brett saw Dongfang Yu's smile, it was as if an ice-cold thorn had pierced into his heart. This damned woman is actually thinking of my man at the moment of her death. If I let her die just like this, it would truly be letting her off lightly. Grabbing onto Dongfang Yu, he disappeared from this cold world. After an unknown amount of time, Dongfang Yu opened her beautiful eyes and looked around her surroundings. Am I still in a hotel? I still have a blanket on me. Did absolute heaven come to save me? Just when Dongfang Yu thought that she had been saved, the sound of high heels rang out. When she saw the tall and slender Brett appear, Dongfang Yu tightly hugged the blanket. Brett was wearing an exquisite long skirt, which set off that perfect figure of hers. It was simply explosively sexy. Moreover, Brett, who was wearing high heels, was at least 1.88 meters tall. Compared to Dongfang Yu, who was only 1.65 meters tall, Brett looked like a female giant. Chapter 486. Dongfang Yuan, who was grabbing the blanket with both hands, was indeed very afraid, but after hearing Brett's words, she immediately let go and pretended not to be afraid and continued to remain silent. After a long time, Brett said indifferently, "Absolute heaven told me before that he doesn't like women." This sentence made Dongfang Yuan very surprised. This beautiful and sexy woman knew absolute heaven. What was going on? You know absolute heaven. Dongfang Yuan finally spoke. The tone of the two women were different, one was overflowing with domineering aura, the other was extremely delicate. Brett glanced at Dongfang Yuan and said solemnly, "I know him in the year 838. Obviously, Dongfang Yuan was once again shocked. They had actually been together for so long. Then we separated for 5 years. That absolute heaven who never liked women actually had you guys. Brett's tone gradually emitted a cold killing intent. You also like absolute heaven? Dongfang Yuan asked. Yes. I liked him for more than 800 years, he rejected me for more than 800 years, but this time he rejected me for you guys. I can't stand it, I want to take revenge on him. Make him regret it. Dongfang Yuan had never heard absolute heaven mention this before, but she felt that this woman was also very pitiful. Brett noticed Dongfang Yuan's pitiful gaze and said coldly, "Put away that lowly gaze of yours. Actually, you can have a good talk with absolute heaven." Dongfang Yuan said delicately with a comforting tone. Talk. Can't talk anymore. Do you know why I caught you? Dongfang Yuan shook her head. Because he said that you are gentler than me. Brett clenched her fist. Absolute heaven actually disliked her for not being gentle enough. Really? Dongfang Yuan asked reflexively, because when she was together with absolute heaven had never said anything good about her. Brett was angered to the point of laughing, this weak woman was actually showing off in front of him. Brett slowly stood up and pulled down the zipper on the back of her skirt, completely exposing her body to the air. Even Dongfang Yuan couldn't help but sigh, it was really sexy. What are you doing? When a woman stripped naked in front of another woman, Dongfang Yuan was a little afraid. Brett sneered, what am I doing? Doesn't absolute heaven like you? Then I will ruthlessly sully you, and I will also film it and send it to him. Sure enough, there was a mobile phone at the end of the bed. Dongfang Yuan hadn't noticed it just now. You. Don't come over. Dongfang Yuan was afraid at this moment, and like a frightened rabbit, she shrunk back. But how could Dongfang Yuan be Brett's opponent? She was directly pressed down by Brett's body, unable to move. I want absolute heaven to see how his woman enjoys pleasure under me. Brett said with a sneer. Soon after, he tore apart Dongfang Yu's clothes. Don't be like this. Dongfang Yu's tone wasn't able to form any threat at all, and it would only make the bad guy even more excited, just like the current Brett. I seem to have discovered why absolute heaven would like a woman like you. He likes your powerless expression. Brett could not help but admit that he understood absolute heaven very well. You. Whoa. Dongfang Yuan's beautiful eyes opened wide. I was forcefully kissed by Zhu Tian, I am no longer pure, I have done something that let Zhu Tian down. No, she is just a woman, she doesn't have any. Just when Dongfang Yuan was rejoicing, a pair of black wings stretched out from Brett's pure white back, bringing with it death within its beauty. However, this was not the important point. The important point was that there were 4 feeler-like things on the 2 sides of the wings. 2 of the black feelers could be seen immediately drilling into the blanket, and Dongfang Yuan's beautiful eyes opened wide as she let out a miserable cry. She couldn't help but grab onto Brett's ears with both of her hands. The most sensitive part of elves were their long ears, and after being grabbed by Dongfang Yuan, Brett let out an alluring moan. Immediately. The scene was extremely explosive. This was a feast for the eyes. So it can be played like this. Dongfang Yuan, who was an ordinary person, fainted in just a short while. Brett stood up with his face and ears red. Picking up the phone that was placed at the end of the bed, Brett took a look at the video. Not bad. I contacted Absolute Heaven using the method of money. And when Absolute Heaven, who didn't have any clues, heard Brett's voice, he immediately became excited. Brett, if you have any problems, come at me. Don't hurt Dongfang Yuan. Humph. Just because of what you said, I will properly torture her. You can be at ease, I won't kill her. You. Brett, we have been together for 800 plus years, is there a need for you to do this? Absolute Heaven. Then how did you treat me? It is impossible for us to be together. Fine. Impossible. Let me show you something good, add me on WeChat. Absolute Heaven's expression sunk, Brett. You are abusing her. That's right, I am abusing her using a man's method. You. After adding Absolute Heaven's WeChat, Brett immediately sent the video over, and even said that he would continuously update the video. Meanwhile, Absolute Heaven looked blankly at the video on the phone and the voice that was transmitted from the phone. His entire mind was stupefied. This Brett actually cuckolded me. Bang! The phone was directly smashed into pieces by Absolute Heaven. I didn't expect that Brett would actually use this kind of method to take revenge on me. Brett simply has no bottom line. Meanwhile, Brett was very satisfied, because he felt that Absolute Heaven would definitely be angered to death right now. However, it is truly a pity that I won't be able to enjoy Absolute Heaven's appearance when he is angry. Looking at Dongfang Yuaner, who had already fainted on the bed, the wings on Brett's back once again appeared, and Brett continued to display the revenge of a woman. From today onwards, Absolute Heaven would receive a feather arrow every day, and on the feather arrow was a phone, causing Absolute Heaven to burn with anger. The main thing was that Dongfang Yuaner was very resistant at the start, but gradually, she changed. No matter how much Dongfang Yuaner resisted, a blush appeared on that delicate and pretty face of Brett's. Meanwhile, Brett even boldly said, "Your woman will become my woman." This truly caused Absolute Heaven to explode. This move of Brett's was indeed very useful. On the luxurious big bed, Brett hugged onto Dongfang Yuaner, who was on the verge of death. Looking at the phone at the end of the bed, a smile appeared on Brett's face. Say hello to Absolute Heaven. After finished speaking, Brett even kissed onto Dongfang Yuaner's lips. Meanwhile, Dongfang Yuaner powerlessly laid beside Brett. Her entire body didn't have any strength left. Absolute Heaven. Let me tell you, Dongfang Yuaner is mine now. She doesn't like you anymore, the one she likes right now is me. After Absolute Heaven saw the latest video, he was simply unable to endure it. Brett is completely a pervert. Chapter 487. However, Absolute Heaven was prepared to report Brett's evil deeds, which made one's hair stand on end. Yihua sat on the sofa in his office and listened to the report that came from Absolute Heaven. Yihua took a deep puff of his cigarette. Your Honor, Brett has already become twisted. What could Yihua possibly do? Right now, he couldn't even find the person that was in the room. You shouldn't have provoked Brett that day. Yihua said gravely. When this woman goes crazy, she basically doesn't care about the consequences at all, let alone one of the 7 sins, Brett. On that day, Absolute Heaven had been forced into a corner by Brett, and he had wanted to cut the Gordian knot. In the end, however, he had thoroughly angered Brett. It's already fortunate that Dongfang Yuer is fine now. But Brett tortures her every day. This subordinate can't stand it anymore. Yihua went silent for a moment, then said faintly, think of a way to lure Brett out. Deceive. Absolute Heaven was stunned. This is the only way for you to save Dongfang Yuer. In actuality, Yihua had been thinking about it for a few days. Only Absolute Heaven would be able to lure Brett out. If not, even if Brett wanted to hide, no one would be able to find him. Zhu Tian became silent. After thinking for a long while, Zhu Tian said gravely, Your Honor, if we really lied to Brett, I'm afraid that she, in truth, Absolute Heaven also could not bear to do so. After all, they had lived together for so long. You decide for yourself. Yihua was also at his wit's end. This matter was too troublesome. After struggling for a long time, Absolute Heaven finally nodded his head. Looking at Zhu Tian leaving, Yihua was very vexed. I will slowly enlighten Brett in the future. Revenge breeds revenge, when will it ever end? After returning home, Absolute Heaven waited for Brett to contact him. After a day, Brett finally contacted him. Brett's sweet voice rang in his mind. Absolute Heaven, what do you think? I said that I would make you regret it. Brett, you did it. Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Brett was stunned. He did not expect that Absolute Heaven would admit defeat so quickly. For a moment, Brett was at a loss for words. Come back. You've already taken revenge on me, so don't hurt anyone else. Feeling heartache. Don't worry, I will treat you well. Brett, I'm willing to marry you and give up both of them. Ju Tion's words caused Brett's pupils to shrink, and he became so excited that he stood up. Is what you said true? And his honor has agreed as well. In order to dispel Brett's misgivings, Ju Tion had no choice but to bring up his honor. In Brett's heart, his honor would never lie to her. His honor has agreed. That's great. Brett felt that this was too sudden. He sat down on the ground and started bawling. After waiting for more than 800 years, this moment had finally come. Ju Tian let out a sigh of relief. Emichim, I'll wait for you at home. After that, the two of them ended the call. Absolute Heaven sat on a chair in the hall, his mood heavy. Was this really alright? But it couldn't go on like this. After waiting for nearly 2 hours, Absolute Heaven saw the space before him distort. It's here. Brett was wearing a fiery red dress with a V-neck. It was festive and sexy, and she was actually smiling. Absolute Heaven had never seen Brett smile before. However, other than Brett, Dongfang Yuan's figure was nowhere to be seen, causing Absolute Heaven to feel slightly anxious. Absolute Heaven stood up and stared at Brett. Meanwhile, Brett was acting like a little girl, lowering his head bashfully. Are you really willing to marry me? Brett said in a low voice, not even daring to look straight at Absolute Heaven's gaze. The cold and fiery Brett in the past had suddenly changed. Absolute Heaven slowly walked to Brett's side, then carried Brett into his embrace. Hearing Absolute Heaven's permission, Brett cried again. She cried like a little child. I didn't wait for so long in vain, and now, the day has finally come. Absolute Heaven took a deep breath, then asked, Where's you? Brett's beautiful face stiffened, then she said faintly, I killed her. What? Absolute Heaven grabbed onto Brett's shoulders and questioned angrily. Looking at Absolute Heaven's expression that was filled with so much pain that he wished he was dead, Brett's happiness was instantly trampled. What? Are you feeling heartache? Brett! You are crazy! Absolute Heaven shouted out angrily. I didn't expect that Brett would actually kill her. Absolute Heaven, didn't you say that you want to marry me? Why did you become like this after hearing that you is dead? Brett laughed. This laughter of Brett's was very miserable. Brett faintly felt that this was a scam. Your Honor, please come out. This was all planned by you guys, right? Brett said to the air. His heart was completely torn into pieces. Yihua's figure appeared beside Brett, then he let out a deep breath. Brett, we are doing this for your own good. That miserable laughter caused Yihua and Absolute Heaven to feel very uncomfortable. In their memories, Brett had never acted like this before. Even when he killed his big sister with his own hands, Brett did not have any reaction at all. How do you two understand me? You two don't understand me at all. After finished speaking, a pair of black elf wings unfolded, and a green long blade condensed in Brett's hand. Yihua's gaze became serious, then shouted out coldly, Brett. A golden binding light immediately wrapped around Brett, but Brett's speed was even faster than Brett's. The left half of Brett's wing was cut off by Yihua, and soon after, Brett's wing was bound by Yihua. Cutting off one's wing was the cruelest method to deal with elves. According to legends, elves who had their wings cut off would never be able to reincarnate. Brett didn't want to see absolute heaven anymore in this life. Even in his next life, he didn't want to see absolute heaven anymore. Therefore, Brett used this wing to understand himself. The black wing that was dripping with blood fell onto the ground. Both Yihua and absolute heaven were stupefied. If Yihua was just a bit slower just now, Brett would have died just now, and he wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. Furthermore, how could an elf be able to endure the pain of a wing being cut off? Look at the current Brett. Although his face was pale, he didn't shout out in pain. Furthermore, to Brett, a wing being cut off was a great loss to his strength. If he wanted to recover, he would have to regrow his wing. Your Honor, please bring me away from here. I don't want to see him anymore. Brett returned back to his original appearance, but the feeling that he gave off was lifeless, as if he was an empty shell without a soul. Yihua picked up the wing that was cut off from the ground, seeing if he could find a way to reattach it back. Brett. Absolute heaven couldn't help but shout out. Brett said coldly, "Don't call me anymore. In the future, we will have nothing to do with each other anymore." After helping Brett up, Yihua patted onto Brett's shoulder. "Just get over it, don't do anything stupid." When Brett was leaving, Brett told Absolute Heaven about Dongfang Yu's location, and from then on, Brett broke off all ties with Yihua. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, Absolute Heaven seemed to be at a loss, not knowing what to do. After returning to Leisure Bar, Brett immediately collapsed. Brett hugged onto his honor and cried bitterly. Yihua let out a sigh and consoled Brett. "You will feel better after you cry. Don't be too sad." Chapter 488. Inside the bar. Right now, Brett was wailing loudly. It was simply a tragic scene. Even Qing Yutong, who was upstairs, noticed it, and she walked down to take a look at the situation. "Brother-in-law, what's going on?" Qing Yutong was stupefied. Seeing such a situation, her first reaction was that brother-in-law is done for. It is definitely his former lover. After this reunion, Qing Yutong couldn't help but cry tears of joy. Luckily, she didn't bring a child with her. If not, brother-in-law would definitely be done for. However, this seems to be no different from being done for. "Your Honor, why did you lie to me as well?" Brett used a small fist and hammered on Qing Yutong's chest. This caused Qing Yutong's mouth to turn into an O. Brother-in-law lied to another girl again. Seeing Qing Yutong's expression, Yihua said faintly, "Stop your imagination." "That, brother-in-law, this is you as well." "This is Brett, you saw him during the meeting that day, he is that shorty," Yihua said gravely. It is very annoying for subordinates to have conflicts with each other. Qing Yutong was startled and mumbled, "He matured so quickly." "All right, go and guide her properly, she is hurt by love." Yihua felt that only women would be able to comfort Brett. Qing Yutong patted on her chest, "Leave it to me." Qing Yutong could be seen sitting beside Brett and saying earnestly, "There is not a single man who is good." Yihua, Brett left his honor's embrace and hugged onto Qing Yutong. "You are right, there is not a single man who is good." Yihua, letting Qing Yutong comfort me is a wrong choice. Yihua picked up the broken wing at the side. "The wing is showing signs of withering. If I continue to delay it, I am afraid that I won't be able to reattach it." Walking to Brett's back, Yihua said faintly, "Stretch out the wing." Towards his honor's command, Brett obediently took out the wing on his back. The position of the wing that was broken was a ghastly sight. Yihua wrinkled his brows and took out a bottle of medicine from his ring. "Brother-in-law, is that glue?" "Qing Yutong, can you not speak?" Yihua glared at Qing Yutong. The latter pouted her mouth. "Brother-in-law is very fierce." The holy liquid that Yi Hua was holding in his hand possessed a powerful recovery ability. Of course, it was something that he snatched from an overlord. As for whether it would be effective or not, Yi Hua had no idea. Thus, he felt that he should still give it a try. Xiaochen placed the broken wing over the wound and dripped some holy liquid on it. The wound gave off a blue light and a strong fragrance. Yi Hua paused for a moment, then a ray of white light shot out from his palm, and just like a white laser, the white light was repairing the broken wing. Ah! The intense pain caused Brett to scream. This repair was even more painful than cutting. While treating the wound, Yi Hua was very serious. After all, it was his subordinate who got injured. However, only they could injure themselves. Ooh! Yi Hua let out a breath. I am finally done. Right now, all I have to do is to properly recuperate. Brother-in-law, she fainted. The fact that Brett, one of the 7 deadly sins, fainted from the pain showed how terrifying this repair was. Let her rest. After saying that, he placed a restriction on Brett to prevent her from running around again. All right. Sitting at the side of the bar, Yi Hua pinched the bridge of his nose. The problem can be considered to have been solved. However, the relationship between Zhu Tian and Brett could be considered to have completely collapsed. This was not a good thing for the entire team. This Zhu Tian is also a stubborn person. I have already taken in 2 women, so why isn't he willing to marry Brett? To think that others would even seek death for you. From this, it can be seen how deep your love is. However, how deep your love was back then, how deep your hatred is right now. Baiyu, Zhu Tian's figure appeared beside Yi Hua, Your Honor. Yi Hua did not say anything and only sighed. Your Honor, how is Brett? Zhu Tian asked with concern. She is fine now. That's good. Zhu Tian let out a breath of relief. Just now, when he saw Brett actually committing suicide, he was truly frightened. Yi Hua asked gravely, Didn't you dislike her? Why are you asking about this now? Your Honor, please forgive me. Zhu Tian lowered his head and apologized. I shouldn't have let you take on that mission. If Yi Hua knew that such a thing would happen, he definitely wouldn't have let Zhu Tian take on that mission. And you still say that you have the brains to take on the mission. Zhu Tian lowered his head and remained silent. He was feeling very complicated in his heart. When he thought about how Brett looked like just now, he felt very uncomfortable. Yi Hua lit up a stick of cigarette. Forget it, you can go back first. Don't worry about the matters here anymore. Thank you, Your Honor, for your magnanimity. Zhu Tian bowed and said. Let's see how the 2 of you are going to clean up this mess. Yi Hua shouted coldly, then disappeared from the bar. Zhu Tian straightened his body and looked towards the 2nd floor, then let out a sigh and disappeared from Leisure Bar. Right now, Yi Hua had arrived at Voidless Realm. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji hadn't returned to Voidless Realm for a few days, so Yi Hua decided to come here to take a look. Last time, I directed a big show here, and I haven't even had the chance to enjoy it yet. Yi Hua's appearance caused a lot of people to be shocked, but after knowing that he was the Empress's husband, everyone greeted him respectfully. After all, the Empress's husband had saved them before. Meanwhile, Yi Hua walked with the footsteps of a big shot and nodded his head slightly. However, one mustn't learn this kind of footsteps, it is very easy for one to get beaten up. There was a person who walked with this kind of footsteps, and the grass on his grave was already 2 meters tall. When the people from Voidless Realms saw that the Empress's husband had such an imposing manner, they were also extremely happy. As expected, the Empress's husband is very powerful. Yi Hua directly walked towards the newly built palace. Along the way, no one stopped him, and even the guards respectfully lowered their heads to greet Yi Hua. Towards such a scene, Yi Hua appeared to be very natural. He walked into the palace from the outer wall. Right now, Donghuang Baiji and Qingye were currently having a meeting with the military officers, discussing how to deal with the current situation. Yihua directly walked into the meeting just like that, and with a single glance, he saw his woman sitting on an exquisite throne. The woman was wearing a purplish golden gown and a crown on her head. This makeup is not bad. Next time, if I let Baiji dress like this, it should be very exciting. Qingye sat a bit below Donghuang Baiji, and when the two women saw their husband walking in, the corner of their mouths twitched. Everyone at the scene recognized Yihua, and they respectfully shouted out, "Lord Yi." The Empress's husband didn't have a title, and normally, he would just be called by his surname, and the word Lord would be added at the back to show respect. Yihua waved his hand and walked towards the throne. Donghuang Baiji slowly stood up and was planning to give up her seat to her husband. However, she was stopped by Yihua's gaze. No matter what, this is my woman's territory, I naturally have to give her face. I, the Supreme Overlord, will not do those things that will make my woman lose face. A trace of a heartwarming smile appeared on Donghuang Baiji's face. Yihua is still very considerate towards me. After being together for a long time, a husband and wife would be able to understand each other's words and actions. Men, give this Empress husband a seat of honor. Donghuang Baiji shouted out gravely. Chapter 489. Yihua took a look at Qingye's stomach. She is going to give birth in another 4 to 5 months, right? Continue. Donghuang Baiji shouted out lightly, emitting out the aura that an empress should have. Seeing Donghuang Baiji like this made Yihua feel very comfortable, and he felt a sense of accomplishment. Do you see this? This is my woman, every word and action of hers is emitting out strong confidence, and only when I am pressing her down would she reveal the appearance of a little woman. Yuanda said, Your Majesty, those families in the south collectively raised a protest, they hope that. Hope what? Donghuang Baiji asked coldly. They hope that Your Majesty can also share some of the fruits with them. Yuanda lowered his head and said. Donghuang Baiji's expression sunk. Back then, when I went to save the south together with Qingye, those people were extremely respectful towards me. But now, when they heard that there was a good thing in the south, they completely forgot who it was that saved them back then, and they even dared to say that I am hiding something. This is so infuriating. Yihua sat at the side and did not say anything. Now, you all know, it is useless to be nice to them, they will only fear evil, and not the kind empress. What did Ing family do? Ing family did not express any opinion. What is the exact situation in the north? Did you find any clues? Donghuang Baiji asked gravely. Xing Han cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, other than the aristocratic families, all of the families in the north expressed their protest. They also want the longevity fruit, and they even said that Your Majesty colluded with the aristocratic families to lie to them for a long time. Donghuang Baiji slammed onto the armrest of the chair. These people are truly blinded by greed, to actually say that I lied to them. Did you find the murderer of Guan family? Donghuang Baiji asked coldly. Everyone below shook their heads, there were no clues at all. What is blood pool forbidden technique? Just as everyone remained silent, Yihua asked this question faintly. Other than Qingye, everyone's gaze became serious, and their expressions immediately became grave. Yihua, did you find out anything? Donghuang Baiji asked. The reason why Guan family was exterminated was because of blood pool forbidden technique, and the matter regarding voidless realm was purely an innocent bystander. Tell me, what is this blood pool forbidden technique? Replying to Lord Yi, this blood pool forbidden technique is also just a legend. Yihua laughed lightly, I like legends. Yuanda continued, rumor has it that in ancient times, there was a cruel member of the blood tribe who refined his clansmen one by one in order to increase his strength and bring disaster to the world. However, he was still sealed in the end. It is said that the seal can be broken with the purest blood of the blood tribe. After hearing that, Yihua became very interested. They are the same kind of people. Yihua, how did you know about this? Qinya asked curiously. One of my subordinates discovered this information. This is a group of masked men in black. They released the news of the longevity fruit just to attract attention. Hearing that, Donghuang Baiji's brows wrinkled. From the looks of it, this group of people is very strong. They were able to exterminate the entire Guan family. It's all right. But why is there a blood clot in the Guan family? Baiji, have you ever considered this problem? Yihua said faintly. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. She was not clear about this matter at all. Yihua continued, that blood clot should be the item that was sealed. If we gather the blood clot and use the purest blood, we might really be able to undo the seal and release the blood tribe that you all are talking about. That would be a disaster. Yuanda let out a long sigh. Would it be a disaster? To Yihua, this was a very interesting matter. I really want to see just what kind of a cruel blood tribe is like. The most important thing right now is to solve the problem of Voidless Realm's reputation. Yihua said. Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice, this isn't a problem of our Voidless Realm's reputation, it's just that they want the longevity fruit too much. Give it to them then. Yihua said faintly. What's the point of hiding a longevity fruit? Donghuang Baiji, if you all continue on like this, it will only make the matter even more complicated. A good thing like the longevity fruit is something that even humans would covet, let alone a longevity fruit. You all can just hold a martial arts competition and have each family send out a person to fight. Afterward, we can just distribute the fruits reasonably. Yihua's words caused the eyes of everyone present to light up. This is indeed a good idea. As expected of the Empress's husband. Not only is he strong, but he also has a good brain. The Empress is truly fortunate to be able to find such a husband. This idea is feasible. Qinya agreed to her husband's suggestion. Donghuang Baiji nodded her head, let us discuss about the details then. Yihua stood up and said faintly, you all can discuss about it, I will be going back first. Empress, remember to come back home today. After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared. A layer of redness appeared on Donghuang Baiji's beautiful face. This Yihua actually dared to take liberties with me in front of so many people. Watch how I am going to take care of you tonight. I won't let you stop for even a second. After returning back to Leisure Bar, Yihua walked to Qin Yutong's room to see how Brett was doing. However, where did that person hit me? This was Brett's question. At the top of that mountain, didn't you see it? Qin Yutong shouted out. Bastard! To actually sneak attack me, there isn't a single good man in this world. Brett said angrily while shaking his teeth. That's right, all men are bastards, let's go for the next round. Yihua was truly helpless. This Brett is actually playing a game with Qin Yutong. Did his emotional injury heal so quickly? In just a blink of an eye, he became lively again. Cough! Yihua called out to remind the two women that no man wanted. Qin Yutong and Brett turned their heads around to take a look, then immediately shrunk back and continued playing their game. However, looking at Brett's current state, Yihua slightly let out a breath of relief. At least, it is better than that kind of situation where you want to die. However, Brett's current state made Yihua feel that he wasn't letting go of Brett at all, and was instead pretending to let go of Brett. One day, Brett will still explode. Let's hope that absolute heaven will be able to give Brett a good ending. Returning back to the office, Yihua turned on the television and looked at Detective Conan while supporting his chin with his hand. Speaking of which, no matter where this fellow goes on the television, people will die. He must have been cursed by death before. Blood pool forbidden technique, purest blood. Somewhat interesting. After who knows how long, the Empress's voice rang out from behind Yihua. Yihua took a look, then patted on his thigh. Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes at her husband, then sat on Yihua's lap. Very naturally, Dong Huang Baiji lied on Yihua's embrace and felt that powerful heartbeat. Baiji. Your outfit today looks very good. Is that so? Dong Huang Baiji asked shyly. It is very rare for Yihua to praise someone. Yihua lifted up the Empress's chin and said indifferently, I still want to look at it. Since her husband had a request, the Empress naturally had to satisfy his request. The moment she stood in front of Yihua, she immediately transformed. Meanwhile, Yihua transformed into a wolf and pounced over. Yihua. It isn't night yet, the way you are right now, I am unable to wait anymore. Chapter 490. When the morning sunlight shone into the room through the window, Yihua felt that the beauty beside him had already left. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. This Empress sure is a workaholic, she only slept for a few hours and she went back to sleep. Sitting up, Yihua stretched his neck. In actuality, the days when I have a wife are much better, I don't know how I spent my days in the past. After putting on his clothes, Yihua called Wei Chang over. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Wei Chang half-kneeled respectfully, while Yihua stood by the window and smoked while staring at the hotpot restaurant. Yihua asked lightly, have you heard of blood pool forbidden technique and purest blood? Wei Chang said in a low voice, Your Honor, subordinate has never heard of the blood pool forbidden technique before, but I have heard LV Liang mention this purest blood before. Oh. What happened? Yihua asked curiously. It's the bar next door. Aren't the two proprietors bloodlings? I heard from LV Shu that they possess the purest blood. Yihua laughed. So, the key to unlocking the seal was right beside me, and I actually didn't know about it. This purest blood is related to the opening of the blood pool forbidden technique. Your Honor, do you mean to destroy the purest blood? Wei Chang asked gravely. Yihua shook his head and lightly sucked in a mouthful of air. No, we are going to help them open up the seal, because I, the Supreme Overlord, really want to see that demon. This subordinate understands. Let's leave this matter to the Green and Red brothers. Also, let Yihong get some credit for this matter. After all, Zishan had already come to look for me once. Even now, Yihua could still remember that day when Zishan came to look for him. Zishan's hesitant look on her face, as if she couldn't say what she wanted to say. When Zishan first came here, she was extremely unwilling. And now, she even came here to beg me to give Yihong a chance. I really didn't expect this. Subordinate understands. In that case, subordinate will go over and convey his honor's orders right now. Go. After Wei Chang left, Yihua extinguished the cigarette butt and prepared to go out to buy breakfast. Of course, it was still that Chinese jianbing. Give me a serving of fruit jianbing. Yihua looked at the aunt and said faintly. The middle-aged woman nodded and began to do it. Yihua felt that there was something wrong with the auntie today. In the past, she would always like to tease me, but today, she is actually not speaking. Did the sun rise from the west today? Yihua took the Chinese jianbing that the auntie handed over to him, and the auntie seemed to have a lot on her mind. You don't want money anymore? Yihua asked faintly. Aw. Didn't you just give it to me? Yihua took out his phone, scanned the WeChat that was at the side, then showed it to the aunt. Look carefully, I have counted the money. The auntie nodded with a sorrowful look on her face. Yihua took a look, wrinkled his brows, then walked back to Leisure Bar. Everyone has their own troubles. This sovereign has one as well. Right at this moment, Wei Cheng arrived at Yi Hong's villa. After passing down his honor's order to Yi Hong, Zi Shan, who was at the side, was immediately overjoyed. His honor finally gave Yi Hong a mission. You have nothing to say now, right? Meets your criteria for success. Yi Hong was very excited and shouted out excitedly, subordinate will definitely complete the mission that his honor has given me. Big Brother Green seemed a bit heavy, but he still said, this subordinate will properly complete the mission. Remember, don't expose yourself, Wei Cheng warned before disappearing from the villa. Yi Hong happily hugged onto Zi Shan and spun around. His honor finally gave me a mission. Zi Shan gave a sweet kiss to Zi Shan. Don't disappoint his honor's expectations. That's for sure, I guarantee that I will complete the mission beautifully. Yi Hong patted on his chest and promised. That's more like it, I will make breakfast for you too. Zi Shan smiled gently, then walked into the kitchen after putting on her apron. Yi Hong was already bursting with happiness. Zi Shan, you have worked hard. Zi Shan, who was in the kitchen, clenched her fist and cheered for her husband. You can do it, my Zi Shan is so cute, I am so happy. Big brother, we can go on a mission together, why are you frowning? Yi Hong hugged onto his big brother's shoulder and said excitedly. During these few days, LV Liang would often be together with the blood race sisters, and they had developed a bit of feelings for each other. Although there wasn't any substantial progress, after hearing his honor's request, LV Liang felt a bit uncomfortable in his heart. This request isn't directed towards his honor, it is directed towards the blood race sisters. I promised them that I will protect their purest blood, but right now, I still have to give it away. LV Liang was in despair. How did this happen? If I had known earlier, I would have acknowledged their identities, and his honor wouldn't have done this. My God! What am I thinking? It can't be that I fell in love with two vampires, right? Definitely not, this is just a kind of sympathy, that's right. It's sympathy. Big brother. Big brother. Yi Hong shook his big brother, who had a strange expression on his face. What does this mean? LV Liang came back to his senses. What is it? Aren't you on good terms with the blood race sisters? I will leave the matter of collecting the purest blood to you. Yi Hong had a naughty smile on his face, and had a look that said, you should understand, on his face. Collect? How do I collect it? Suck it with my mouth. LV Liang raised his hand and slapped onto Yi Hong's face. At this moment, Zi Shan, who was in the kitchen, shouted out, Big brother. If you hit my husband again, in the future, you won't have a share in my cooking anymore. Yi Hong sighed, in this world, only having a wife is good. Yi Hong said in a low voice, Big brother, if you don't go and suck it, do you want me to suck it for you? Right now, I am a man with a family. Furthermore, the blood race sisters like you, what's wrong with letting you suck a few mouthfuls of blood? LV Liang rubbed his temple in annoyance, then said, let me ask about the situation first. And I will wait for Big Brother's good news. Right after LV Liang finished speaking, LV Liang disappeared from the kitchen. At this moment, Zi Shan walked out of the kitchen with a bowl of noodles. Where is Big Brother? He went to suck the blood. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I have already made an extra bowl, it would be a pity to throw it away. Husband, you should eat it all. Looking at that big bowl of noodles, Yi Hong smiled apologetically. Wife, I can't finish eating that much. Even if you can't finish it, you still have to let me eat it. Who asked you to lose money gambling? I will have to eat dirt if I follow you. Zi Shan said in annoyance and rolled her eyes at Yi Hong. Zishan's words were a bit of a blow to Yihong. I don't have the ability to make a good girl like Zishan suffer with me. Looking at the noodles that Zishan made, Yihong felt that he didn't even have the qualifications to eat it. And when Zishan saw that her husband's expression changed, she knew that her unintentional words just now had hurt him, so she hurriedly explained, Yihong, I didn't mean it that way. Zishan, you can be at ease, I will become your ideal man. With his fastest speed, Yihong finished eating the noodles, then walked out of the house to look for clues. Zishan lightly let out a breath. Just now, I had unintentionally hurt Yihong. Chapter 491. Therefore, Yihong had always wanted to prove that he was worthy of Zishan. This was the dignity of a man. However, Zishan didn't think that way. What she said just now was just a joke. If she said it too quickly, she wouldn't even be able to stop herself. Actually, Zishan's thoughts were very simple. She just wanted her family of 3 to live together peacefully. To Zishan, who had lived for a few thousand years, what she wanted the most right now was to have a child. She wanted to have a child more and more. Especially when she saw other women bringing their children out and dressing up their children beautifully, Zishan would be endlessly envious. If only she could have a child like that. But Yihong did not want to give him a child. He felt so dizzy. It was completely useless for Yihong to go out to look for clues like this. In fact, Yihong mainly wanted to go out to get some fresh air. Meanwhile, LV Shu went to the 7 bar. I'm here for your lady boss, LV Liang said to the tall and strong foreigner with a sullen face. Everyone knew that this man was the lady boss's pet boy. At this time, LV Shu stood at the door of the bedroom, thinking about her words. How should she tell them later? Why did he have to think so clearly? Was he afraid that they would be sad? Then why was he afraid that they would be sad? Could it be that he had fallen in love with them? If he had fallen in love with 2 vampires, it wasn't a matter of being cuckolded or not, it was a matter of being sucked to death. Creak, 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 the door opened automatically, which startled Lulu. She hadn't thought of what to say yet. He could only walk in helplessly and look at the big bed. 2 beauties were lying on the pink bed with their long legs exposed. The elder sister, Serena, was more reserved, while the younger sister, Serena, bit her index finger with her beautiful eyes. LV Liang took a deep breath. Basically, she had to withstand this kind of temptation every day to not be sucked by them. I have a little matter to talk to you guys about today. LV Liang said hesitantly as she sat on the sofa at the side. Serena said coquettishly, don't say it's something. My sister and I can help you with anything. As she spoke, Celine's consciousness floated over from the bed. Yes, that's right, it was fluttering. People would definitely think it was a ghost if they saw it at night. His elder sister, Serena, was much better. She got off the bed and asked, you don't look too good today. What's wrong? I said, don't be angry. After LV Shu finished speaking, she felt that there was something wrong with her words. Why was she afraid that they would be angry? Was there something wrong with her brain? However, when the 2 sisters heard LV Shu's words, they both laughed and held LV Shu's arm. This made LV Shu feel like coughing up blood, and she became respectful. They were wearing low-cut pajamas, which were too eye-catching and too soft. No matter what you do, my sister and I won't be angry, Celine said softly as she leaned on LV Liang's shoulder. Yes, Serena replied obediently. Big Brother Green was simply a winner in life. There were twins who looked exactly the same, but Big Brother Green was the only one in the entire team. This meant one thing. Life could only be perfect if you were cuckolded. After perfection, there would be surprises. So, don't panic if you were cuckolded. The twins were waiting for you. How do I extract your purest blood? LV Liang asked in a low voice, just like a little virgin. Well, actually, Big Brother Green was really an old virgin. He didn't even touch his girlfriend before he was cuckolded. Then, he bragged in front of his underlings, saying that 3 horses came last night, and a group of horses came the night before yesterday. That was all fake. He only said that because he wanted to save face. After hearing this, the 2 sisters blushed and leaned on LV Shu's chest. The older sister, Celine, blushed and said coquettishly, "You can extract it however you want." Wrong, wrong, wrong. That's not what I meant. What I meant was, how did you get it? LV Shu, what do you want the purest blood for? Celine asked curiously. LV Shu said in a deep voice, for the forbidden blood pool technique. Obviously, the 2 sisters had heard of this rumor. Their originally shy faces suddenly changed, and then they looked at LV Shu with vigilance. For some reason, when LV Shu saw their eyes, he felt a stabbing pain in his heart. You approached us for the forbidden blood pool technique. Celine shouted. She was very surprised how LV Shu knew about it. Listen to my explanation. The 2 sisters shouted at the same time, not listening, not listening, not listening. It's really not what you think. Not listening, not listening, not listening. LV Liang was also angry. Why was this woman so annoying? He wrapped his arms around her. Listen to me. If I want to, I can easily obtain it. What I mean is there any other way to obtain the purest blood? LV Shu shouted in a deep voice. No. Even if you are our benefactor, we will not let you release the demon. The 2 sisters were very firm in their choice. LV Shu really did not know what to do. He shouted, "This is the request of my boss." Do you know why? It's because he wants to help you eliminate the demon. After hearing this, the Blood Clan sisters were shocked, and their expressions showed that this was really the case. Think about it. Being sealed means that there is still a chance for him to come out. If my boss's boss destroys him, wouldn't this threat be eliminated? After hearing this, the 2 sisters nodded. These words were very particular. Look at your faces. You don't believe me. It hurts me so much. LV Shu was very angry. He coldly snorted, unable to appease them. The 2 sisters knew that they had misunderstood. The big sister, Serena, stood at the back and massaged LV Shu, while the little sister, Serena, grabbed onto LV Shu's arm and acted coquettishly. LV Shu felt that he had been appeased enough, so he calmed down and said, "Tell me, how are we going to obtain the blood? If we are going to use it, we can just use a syringe." Serena said tenderly, while the little sister, Serena, went to prepare the syringe. LV Shu held onto the syringe with his hand. My heart feels so sour. This is my first time, and I actually have to give myself a syringe. Should I poke the big sister or the little sister? Use mine. The little sister, Serena, said straightforwardly. In order to complete his honors mission, I, LV Shu, must complete it even if I have to clench my teeth. LV Shu could be seen picking up the syringe, and his gaze became firm. He had an expression that seemed as if he was going to do something big. His left hand slowly lifted up Serena's nightgown, and after swallowing his saliva, the syringe on his right hand gradually reached over. When the 2 sisters saw LV Shu's actions, they were all stupefied. Serena could be seen crying out in surprise, then immediately covered her nightgown. What are you doing? LV Shu was a bit flustered. That. I'm drawing blood. Serena said petulantly, if you want to draw blood, then go ahead and draw blood. Why are you lifting up the little sister's nightgown? Where else do you want to draw blood from? Didn't I want to draw blood from there? LV Shu's face immediately turned red. This is so awkward. The little sister, Serena, said angrily, "Draw blood, you idiot." Chapter 492. The two sisters didn't believe her and said coquettishly, "You batty." LV Shoe was helpless. In the end, the drawing of blood was still left to her sister. Her sister, Serena, was much better. Soon, she drew a needle. After handing the blood to LV Shoe, Serena said in a deep voice, "LV Shoe, don't lie to us. Don't worry. I, LV Shoe, won't lie to you." LV Shoe stood up and promised. The two sisters nodded and were relieved. The younger sister, Serena, bit her lips and said shyly, "LV Shoe, when are you coming to draw blood next time? I mean that kind, poo." LV Shoe couldn't take it anymore and ran out of the bedroom. These two were really vampires. They were always thinking about their own blood. The two sisters in the bedroom were helpless. "Sister, you scared LV Shoe away again," Serena said gloomily. Serena pouted and said, "I don't understand. Why is LV Shoe so afraid of us? Isn't it because we are bloodlings?" Serena was very disappointed. She thought LV Shoe was disgusted by their identity. Serena didn't say anything. She was very depressed. LV Shoe, who walked outside, immediately contacted his brother. The two decided to meet under the Yellow Flower Bridge. Under the Yellow Flower Bridge, a gust of wind blew, causing a green and a red cape to flutter. It was very funny. "Brother, is this the purest blood? I don't think it's any different from chicken blood." Hong looked at the glass needle and said in confusion. LV Shoe raised his hand and slapped the back of his head. "Idiot, all blood is the same." Paw! It broke. The green and red brothers were stunned. LV Shoe shouted angrily, "You can't even hold a needle properly. Don't you know it's hard for me to draw blood? Brother, if you didn't hit me just now, would I have broken it?" Hong was speechless. "It's all your fault. Why are you still standing there? Go draw blood again." What else could LV Shoe do? He could only run back. "LV Shoe, why did you come back? Have you thought it through?" Serena said shyly. LV Shoe was embarrassed. I came to draw blood." "Stop it, my sister isn't here. If you draw my blood, she won't be happy." Serene tiptoed as if she wanted her sister to have her blood drawn together. No, no. I am just drawing blood, the blood from my arm," LV Liang forcefully explained. Serene's face fell. She quietly walked to the side and gave him another syringe. Then, she snorted. After obtaining the purest blood once again, LV Tao felt that it was much more important to complete his honors mission first. The two brothers met again under the Yellow Flower Bridge. LV Shoe decided not to give it to her underlings this time. It would be safer to hold it in her hands. "Did you find him?" LV Shoe decided to deliver the goods to him. Hong shook her head. "No." LV Liang was speechless. "I haven't even found the person. Who am I supposed to give the blood to?" "I don't know," Hong replied. LV Liang was in despair. Hong patted her brother's shoulder to comfort him. Bang! The two brothers looked at the broken syringe and were dumbfounded. "Big brother, don't blame me. You're the one who didn't hold on." Hong disappeared after she finished speaking. Big brother's expression didn't look right. Hong. Just you wait." LV Liang let out a mournful roar. Furthermore, the location where the syringe was broken was more or less the same. LV Shoe once again came to the door of the bar's bedroom. The door was open quietly. "LV Shoe, why are you here again? Selena asked curiously. Serene could be seen sitting on the sofa sullenly. I came to draw my blood. This time, I bought a plastic syringe, it won't break. LV Shu had just bought a plastic syringe with 1 renminbi, and the bar owner almost called the police. Serene snorted, and you still think that we are vampires? You are the one who is sucking our blood. When did I think that you two are disgusted? You can't speak irresponsibly. LV Shu refuted without even thinking. Serene snorted once again, then why aren't you willing to touch us? It would be too hasty to say irresponsibly. After all, I am a proper man. Selena said, my sister and I are also proper women, we have never let other men hold our hands before. LV Shu felt that if he didn't shed 10% of his skin today, he would definitely not be able to get the 3rd syringe. Can we draw my blood first? We can talk about this later, how about it? The 2 sisters sat on the sofa together, and even their sitting posture was the same. They said at the same time, no. My little ancestors, can you not make a fuss? I will apologize to you after this. LV Shu wanted to grab onto his little brother and beat him up. Both times, it was all because of him, if not, how could he possibly suffer such a wish crime? No. The 2 sisters snorted. I, LV Shu, am not convinced by anyone, but the 2 of you. Alright, what do you 2 want? Selena said shyly, agree to 2 of our conditions. Alright, you 2 speak. First, kiss us first. Serene snorted. If you don't kiss us, there won't be any blood. Do as you see fit. LV Shu was struggling in his heart. What if they suck my blood when I kiss them? Even if I want to suck my blood, I have no choice. After all, I am working for his honor, I cannot be careless. All right. Hearing that LV Shu agreed, the 2 sisters blushed a little. They thought that LV Shu would resist. Yihua came to the 2 sisters' side. Right now, the 2 sisters had their beautiful eyes closed. LV Shu's heartbeat quickened a bit. Soon after, he made up his mind. If I die, then I die. Yihua suddenly hugged onto his little sister, Selena, and kissed her. The feeling is not bad, sweet, fragrant. Suddenly, LV Shu opened his eyes wide. A small tongue is actually looking for my big tongue, is it going to be sucked? This is so miserable. His honor. I am going to die, quickly come and save me. After a long while, Selena let go of LV Shu. LV Shu felt a bit dizzy, I definitely sucked quite a lot of blood just now. What about me? Selena said shyly. LV Shu, who was dizzy, already lost all desire to live, and thus, he could only kiss Selena. Big sister Selena was still a lot more reserved, she only kissed Selena, that's all. After finishing this matter, LV Shu felt as if he was drunk. What is the other matter? Selena pulled on to her big sister, letting her big sister speak. Selena said, after this matter is over, you still have to come and draw your blood again, it's that kind of blood. Look, they are already addicted to it, they are planning to turn me into a blood donor, this is so miserable. Since things have come to this, I can only do this, alright, I promise you too. The 2 sisters were delighted, and they immediately drew their blood for LV Shu. Standing outside of the bar, LV Shu looked at how beautiful the sunlight outside was. When the sunlight shone on his body, it felt warm and comfortable. This time, LV Shu will properly store the tube of blood. I definitely can't break it again. Who knows what kind of excessive request they will make. If they want to do that to me, what should I do? Chapter 493. After contacting my little brother, I found out that this fellow actually didn't even go back to have lunch at noon, and is currently outside investigating. Are you afraid of the tigress at home? Poor little brother, marrying such a strong woman. LV Liang couldn't help but think of two vampires in her mind. In fact, they were quite gentle, not as strong as her sister-in-law. MD. What am I thinking? I can't believe such a terrifying thought popped up in my head. While carrying this horrifying thought, LV Liang returned to the villa, and he saw that Zishan was currently cooking lunch. Seeing that little brother was able to marry such a virtuous wife, LV Liang felt very happy for little brother. Big brother, you're back. Zishan turned her head around and greeted Zishan. Logically speaking, Zishan's age should be on the same level as LV Liang's ancestor. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Her husband's big brother was her big brother. Zishan, it has really been hard on you. LV Shu also felt embarrassed. In the future, I will have to pay more living expenses to Zishan. Perhaps he would be able to move out soon and stop being a third wheel. F*ck me. LV Liang, what the hell are you thinking? Why can't you get rid of this crazy idea in your mind? Are you really crazy? Who knew what kind of children they would give birth to if they were in the wrong race? That's not right. Su Xian even dared to do it with a snake, and she didn't give birth to any abnormalities. And what was that called again? It didn't even let off ghosts. Thinking of this, LV Shu felt a little better. Yi Hong didn't come back with you. Zishan looked around for a bit, but she didn't see that her husband had returned home. Yi Hong is still gathering information outside. LV Liang thought that her younger brother had told his wife. She didn't expect that he didn't say anything at all. This brat was quite tough. Wasn't he afraid that he would kneel on the keyboard tonight? Oh. Zishan answered. LV Liang could feel that her sister-in-law was very disappointed. Just a moment ago, Zishan was still very energetic when she was cooking, but now, she suddenly became listless. LV Liang walked towards Zishan and said with a smile, Zishan, you go and take a rest, I'll do it. Big brother, you've been busy for the whole morning. I have nothing to do at home. You should go rest. Look, this brat really doesn't know what's good for him. His wife is so virtuous, yet he doesn't even come home for dinner. Could it be that they quarreled? Then, as the big brother, I have to adjust. Zishan, I grew up with Yi Hong as well. I know his character very well. LV Liang described with a sorrowful tone. This caused Zishan's heart to feel very heavy. Her husband is definitely not living a good life. LV Liang felt that her sister-in-law's expression was on point, so she continued, I remember that year, we played pee in mud. I peed, he in the mud. Zishan. However, when we grew up, we played house. He liked to call me daddy, and I called him son. He had a lot of fun. Zishan. However, when he grew up, he recognized me as his big brother. I taught him how to perm his hair, and we became world-shaking. Zishan clenched her fists tightly. So, my Yi Hong was led astray by you. If Yi Hong knew that Big Brother was talking to his wife about this, his expression would definitely be very pleasant. Zishan, I don't mean anything else by saying all these. Yi Hong has been very innocent since he was young, everyone who knows him thinks that he is easy to bully. That's right, they are right, he is indeed easy to bully. Big Brother, have you ever considered your little brother's image when you say all these? But Zishan, let me tell you, that is not the case. Although Yi Hong is an honest man, he is still a man with dignity. He is also a good man who loves to help others. He often helps a goat cross the road. Big Brother, don't say any more, I beg you. LV Liang let out a deep sigh, Yi Hong has never known who his father is since he was young. 10,000 points of damage landed on Yi Hong's chest. Fortunately, Yi Hong wasn't here. If not, his chest would definitely explode. I brought him up with a handful of shit and piss from his mother. When Zishan heard this sentence, why does it sound so weird? Yi Hong had already fainted in the toilet. Looking at Zishan's confused gaze, LV Liang knew that he had misspoken. His mother brought him up when he was inside, and I brought him up when he was outside. LV Liang explained in detail. Big brother, can you please stop bringing him up? This little brother will kneel down in front of you. This child is quite lacking in self-confidence. The main reason is because of something that happened in elementary school. Big brother, are you trying to help me, or are you trying to harm me? There is no need to talk about that dark history. What happened? Zishan asked gravely. Sigh, first love. Zishan's expression froze for a moment. Yi Hong said that I am his first love. LV Liang was startled and hurriedly explained, what Yi Hong said isn't wrong, because that was a first love that ended before it even started. Puff! Yi Hong had already vomited blood and died in the toilet. Big brother, you are taking revenge on me. That love letter was written by me, but before Yi Hong was able to send it out, it was snatched away by a boy in class. Afterward, the boy ran to the rostrum and read the love letter out loud. From that time onwards, Hong became autistic. Really, it is my fortune that Yi Hong wasn't at the scene. LV Liang let out a long sigh and looked outside the window. From that time onwards, Yi Hong doesn't seem to be interested in women anymore. Zishan, I suspected that he was gay for a long time, until one day, I found out that he was writing erotic books. At that time, I finally knew that little brother isn't gay, he is just a pervert on the inside. But Zishan, you don't have to care about these small details. Yi Hong is really good to you. In my opinion, Yi Hong only acted like this after mustering up his courage. In the past, he didn't even dare to look at other girls. Zishan pouted her mouth, he still doesn't dare to look at other girls now. Sister-in-law is indeed awesome. At the same time, Yi Hong is also a person who is easily hurt. With my understanding of him, right now, he probably doesn't believe that he has a wife like you. He just wants to show off in front of you and prove that he is a useful man, a responsible man. Zishan, regardless of whether you believe it or not, I believe it. LV Liang inwardly added. Although sometimes, Zishan is unreliable. Zishan lightly sighed. After listening to LV Liang's words, Zishan also felt that her slip of the tongue had hurt Yi Hong's pride. LV Liang patted onto her sister-in-law's shoulder and said gravely, Zishan, Yi Hong is a good man, don't give him too much pressure. I didn't give him pressure, he is the one who gave himself pressure. Zishan bit onto her lips and said lightly. When did I give him pressure? LV Liang lightly coughed, little brother also told me a bit, you want to have a child. Is there anything wrong with me wanting to have a child? Zishan knitted her brows and asked. That's right, it is precisely because giving birth to a child gave Yi Hong pressure that he is afraid of. LV Liang said gravely. Afraid of what? Afraid that everything is just a dream, because everything is too wonderful. Chapter 494. Zishan, don't worry, I will teach Yi Hong how to become a real man. Looking at LV Liang's resolute gaze, Zishan was a bit afraid. Forget it, let me be the one to turn Yi Hong into a real man. LV Liang. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. LV Shu hurriedly went to the living room and sat down. He thought to himself, little brother, as your big brother, I can only help you up to here. There's still a long way to go. After dinner, Zishan said, big brother, come back early tonight, I will make Yi Hong's favorite braised fish. Alright, I'll drag you back even if I have to. Thank you, big brother. After leaving the house, LV Lu contacted her underling and asked where he was. I didn't expect my little brother to go to Mage. Not bad, he knows how to ask for help. According to the address given by his underling, LV Shu arrived at Long and City's Jingxiu Garden. I heard that this place is a luxurious residential area. Mage brother is really awesome, he is really rich. However, she was stopped by the security guards at the door because LV Lu didn't look like a good person. If someone who was green from head to toe appeared in front of you, you would have the same feeling. After confirming, LV Lu successfully entered. There was really no other way. After all, my big brother Green is a very polite person. It doesn't seem appropriate for him to fly directly to a mage's house. She pressed the doorbell and saw a mage master opening the door. LV Liang was surprised and immediately shouted, "Hello, mage master." "Sai, come in." Death Mage said weakly. Because they were all Wei Chang's underlings, they were able to understand Death Mage's words. Walking into the mage's house, he saw all kinds of high-end goods. It was good to be rich. Back then, Sun Fang had obtained quite a lot of benefits from Ying family. Knowing that Death Mage loved to gamble, Sun Fang took control of all of Death Mage's assets. If it was given to Death Mage, all of Death Mage's assets would definitely be squandered away. As it turned out, Sun Fang's way of doing things was correct. If all of the money was in Death Mage's hands, how could the two of them possibly stay in this kind of place? He had long gone to the bottom of the chaotic heavenly bridge. LV Liang, you're here. Have a seat. Go get me some water. It was no wonder that Sun Fang was a sect master-level woman. She was rather feminine. Moreover, she used to be the pride of the South. Her beauty was more than enough. It's just that LV Liang didn't expect that Mage Brother's position in the family was so, What else could Death Mage do? I have to serve this fleshy and ugly woman well before giving her money. I won't be able to live on anymore. LV Shu hurriedly bowed and took the water that the mage handed over. It was hard to be a man. His underlings were like this, and so were his mages. They were the outstanding representatives of the team, henpecked. Sister-in-law, His Honor has recently given us two brothers a mission, and we still need sister-in-law's help to complete it. LV Liang said with a slight smile. We are a team after all, so of course we have to help each other out. Sun Fang said with a slight smile, LV Shu, just now, Yi Hong has already told me everything. Don't worry, we are all people who serve His Honor. I have already sent my little disciple to go and scout around. If there is any news, I will inform you all. Right now, the Grand Master of the Cloud sect was on rather good terms with Sun Fang. Therefore, he would naturally give her some face. Furthermore, this was a matter of eradicating evil, nothing else. Thank you, sister-in-law, for your help. If you need our help in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. LV Liang was very touched. This was the feeling of family. This was the strength of a team. Sun Fang smiled sweetly. Don't shirk away when the time comes, sister-in-law, don't worry. The two brothers sat for a while and felt that the atmosphere was a little strange, so they said goodbye. After the two brothers left. My shoulders are a little sore. Sun Fang massaged her fragrant shoulders and murmured. Death Mage paused for a moment, then hurriedly ran behind Sun Fang. Reaching out his pair of bony hands, Death Mage lightly kneaded Sun Fang's body. And not bad, it feels comfortable. Here, this is for you. Sun Fang took out her phone and sent 100 RMB to Death Mage. I, the great Death Mage, have actually fallen to such a state. If I were to gamble again in the future, I will definitely cut myself in half. The two brothers walked into the elevator. LV Shu looked at his younger brother, who had not said a word, and asked curiously, "What's with that expression? You look so sad." Sigh, this mission is very difficult. After all, even his honor is unable to find it. Yi Hong was a little disappointed. He felt that if he couldn't complete the task well, he wouldn't be able to answer to his wife. After all, he had promised that he would work hard. LV Liang put her arm around the shoulder of her little brother. "So, aren't you going back for lunch? I don't even have the face to meet Zishan anymore." Yi Hong murmured. In this relationship, Yi Hong is still not confident enough. His personality isn't something that can be changed just by using strength. Perhaps, some people would explode with power and not even know what their surname is. However, the Green and Red brothers knew that this power was bestowed upon them by his honor, and it wasn't obtained through their own hard work. Under normal circumstances, they would still live their lives like how they did in the past, and would only use their strength after receiving his honor's order. LV Liang also knew about his younger brother's personality and consoled him. "Zishan is a good girl, don't let her down. I know, I am currently working hard to be an ideal man for her." Yi Hong, have you ever thought that the person Zishan likes is the current you, and not the person you are imagining? LV Liang said gravely. This younger brother needs to be guided carefully, if not, he will fall into his own dead end. After hearing what LV Liang said, Yi Hong remained silent and thought silently. "Alright, don't look so sad. Let's go and relax in the afternoon, it's my treat." The corner of Yi Hong's mouth twitched. "Big brother, I am a person with a family right now." LV Liang raised his hand and slapped onto Yi Hong's head. "Scram, have a healthy mindset. At the very least, I am also a..." "Also what?" Yi Hong asked. "Nothing much," LV Liang said while stammering. "Big brother, did you fall in love with those vampire sisters?" Yi Hong grinned and said. His mood became a lot more cheerful. LV Liang snorted. "I will fall in love with them. Even if I, LV Liang, die outside and starve to death, I will still not fall in love with them. So fragrant." LV Liang raised his hand and slapped onto Yi Hong's head again. "Brat, now you know how to tease big brother. Big brother, the vampire sisters are pretty good. Although this is a love that crosses races, but look at senior brother and sister-in-law, even though they don't speak the same language, aren't they still living quite well? Sister-in-law also didn't despise senior brother for being a skeleton. Love is borderless, and can even cross races. Io, brat, I have to look at you in a whole new light now. Where did you learn that from?" I am just expressing my feelings. Zishan and I are borderless. How can my world be the same as yours?" What LV Liang said was a bit hypocritical. If I were to say that I don't like the vampire sisters, that would be a lie. But, I have already said it before, I have already pretended to be cool. Am I going to slap my own face? LV Liang was very gloomy, not knowing how to deal with his relationship problems. He dragged his little brother to play games. Of course, it wasn't chicken dinner. It was an arcade, and the game they were playing was the King of Fighters 98. OSA. OSA. Ha, I dug a hole. Chapter 495. In a winery on the outskirts, Lord Jiao was currently holding a goblet and sipping on a high-grade red wine. His tiny eyes were sparkling, and no one knew what he was thinking at this moment. Suddenly, the 8848 titanium phone in his pocket rang. Lord Jiao hurriedly took out his phone and saw that his master had sent him a WeChat message. He wanted to see what it was about. "In a while, you will receive a package and personally deliver it to this address, Long and City, Chonglin Street, Immortal Jim's boss. Lord Joe hurriedly regained his confidence. Yes, master. Putting away the phone, Lord Joe chuckled. You guys have no idea how many masters I have. If one took a closer look, they would notice that there were more than 10 people in the contact list. Sure enough, not long after, Lord Joe's little brother received a package and handed it over to Lord Joe. Although Lord Joe was curious about the things in the bag, he wouldn't do anything stupid. As long as he did his job well, his master would naturally reward him. Calling for his lackeys to prepare the car, Lord Joe headed straight to the Immortal Jim. Half an hour later, they safely arrived at their destination. Lord Joe said indifferently, "You guys wait here." Yes. Holding the SF package, Lord Joe looked at the Immortal Jim on the 4th floor and took the elevator up. It happened to be the afternoon, and there were many young men and women in the gym, all sweating profusely. There were also strong personal trainers teaching newbies to train their muscles. "Sir, do you need a fitness card?" A young lady respectfully walked to Joe Ye's side. She noticed that Joe Ye's bearing was extraordinary. With one look, she could tell that he was a boss. She looked at him with her beautiful eyes, asking him to take care of her. Lord Joe was already used to it. There were too many people who wanted to get rich without working hard, especially these women. "I have something to discuss with your boss," Joe Ye said indifferently. His aura suddenly changed, causing the young lady to feel a little afraid. "I don't know if the boss is here." Lord Joe coldly snorted, "Ask your manager to come out." The young lady hurriedly ran away. This man was so fierce. Not long after, a well-built man in a suit walked over. "Are you looking for our boss?" "I'm here to deliver the package." Lord Joe wasn't afraid at all. If one had to be afraid, Lord Joe felt that only when he saw the boss of Leisure Bar would he feel this way. The man in the suit seemed to understand Lord Joe's intention. "Follow me." Lord Joe followed the man in the suit to the boss's office. He saw a man wearing a flowery shirt playing golf. However, looking at his swing, he was just a rookie. "He's here," the man in the suit said in a deep voice. The boss responded and the man in the suit immediately left the room. Lord Joe slowly walked over and said indifferently, "My master asked me to give this to you." Fong Tian ignored him and continued to swing the club with his uncoordinated body. This made Lord Joe a little unhappy, but he didn't act recklessly before figuring out his opponent's strength. After standing there for about 10 minutes, Fong Tian wiped his forehead with a towel and looked at Lord Joe. Lord Joe also saw Fong Tian's face. He was wearing a mask on the left side of his face. The material of the mask was unknown, but Lord Joe saw a golden pupil under the mask. Fong Tian stretched out his hand and did not say anything. Lord Joe handed the package to him and turned around, intending to leave. "Don't you want to see what your master has sent?" Fong Tian sneered and sat on the sofa. Lord Joe's eyes narrowed. This guy was not simple. Since it's a gift from the master naturally has his reasons. As servants, we just need to do our job well. Fong Tian smiled disdainfully and said, "In this house, you are the only servant, and the gift from your master is to form an alliance with me." This information was a little too much. His master actually sent something to form an alliance. This man should be very strong. It was a slip of the tongue, "I'm sorry." Lord Joe hurriedly expressed his apology. This was also Lord Joe's way of survival. He would speak the language of humans and speak the language of ghosts. Fong Tian also disdained to argue with ordinary people, so he ignored them. Lord Joe left respectfully. "Big brother," the man in the suit walked in and said respectfully. "Fong Di, we have been searching for thousands of years. Finally, it's all here." Fong Tian's eyes suddenly turned cold. The box in his hand instantly turned into powder, revealing a bright red thing that looked like a red ceramic tile. He flipped his left hand. A round blood plate appeared in his hand, but it was missing a corner. The corner was symmetrical to this piece of blood. That small piece of blood seemed to have found a companion as it emitted a dense blood glow. The blood plate seemed to have sensed the smell and the blood glow intensified. Bang! The small piece of blood automatically embedded itself into the blood plate. Feng Tian and Feng Di's eyes were filled with fanaticism as they knelt on the ground and worshipped. Blood demon above. The blood plate emitted a red glow that enveloped the entire room. Within the red glow, a human face slowly formed. It looked extremely ferocious and terrifying. Who are you? We are the people who serve the blood demon. Feng Tian shouted respectfully. You are not one of us. What is your motive? Feng Tian raised his head slightly and said coldly, to bring disaster to the world. The blood demon was stunned for a moment before he laughed maniacally. Good. What a good, bring disaster to the world. I like you. Feng Di almost spat out the last sentence. The blood demon's expression was too direct. Thank you for your praise, blood demon. Damn you, god of chaos. How dare you imprison me for so long? I will settle this score with you slowly. The blood demon let out an angry and deep roar. The hatred and resentment in his voice grew stronger and stronger, and the red glow became thicker and thicker. Feng Tian shouted respectfully, Blood demon, don't worry. We will definitely help the blood demon. Very good. Have you found the purest blood? Blood demon, don't worry, we will be able to find the whereabouts of the purest blood in less than a month. The blood demon laughed maniacally. Good, I have already endured for so many years, why would I care about a month? Look for it properly, I will not treat you unfairly. Thank you, blood demon. The blood demon shouted maniacally, and the red glow in the room gradually fused into the blood plate. Success. Feng Tian clenched his fist and said excitedly. Congratulations, big brother. Feng Di cupped his hands and congratulated. Feng Tian took a deep breath and calmed down the excitement in his heart. Right now, everyone's target is the purest blood. The purest blood. You must definitely find it for me. Yes. After Feng Di left, Feng Tian held on to the blood plate for a long time, and the golden pupils under the mask became even more distinct. These people were precisely the black-clothed men who exterminated Guan family. Yihua probably wouldn't know that these black-clothed men had disguised themselves as ordinary people and opened a gym. Furthermore, all of the trainers in the gym were black-clothed men. The purpose of doing this was to deceive others. On the other side, the Green and Red brothers sat in the game hall for an entire afternoon before leaving. Chapter 496. LV Liang grabbed his little brother and said, Don't say that big brother is not loyal. I said a lot of good things to you today, and I also promised Zishan to bring you back. Big brother. Stop messing around. Messing around your sister. You are a man, be magnanimous. Zishan cooked your favorite braised fish. LV Liang's face was filled with resentment. How dare you throw such a tantrum? Zishan is just being straightforward, she didn't do it on purpose. Hearing his big brother's words, Yihong did not struggle anymore. Originally, he planned to go back after completing the mission. That way, he would be more manly, and he would be able to raise his head in front of Zishan. The two brothers sat on the bus and went back like a pair of gay friends. Coincidentally, it was also the time when school ended, and everyone's gaze was on them. Of course, the two of them were no longer dressed like before, they looked a bit more stylish now, the kind that had a lot of personality. After stopping and walking for nearly 40 minutes, they finally arrived at the entrance of the villa. While walking towards the villa, Yi-hong was very nervous. I threw a tantrum at noon and didn't go back. Will Zishan get angry? What kind of expression is that? Are you preparing to go to the execution ground or what? LV Liang laughed lightly. This little brother is actually afraid of his wife to this extent. Yi-hong let out a deep sigh. This was not fear, he was just afraid that Zishan would be disappointed in him. Especially that disappointed look in Zishan's eyes, it made Zishan seem like a useless person. After all, Zishan's previous identity was a deity, this was also a hurdle in Yi-hong's heart. Just like a loser who married Snow White, of course, he would think of ways to give the best to Snow White. Open the door, what are you blanking out for? LV Liang was really anxious. Look at me, I won't hesitate at all. Just how am I going to treat my sisters, it's so annoying. Yi-hong opened the door, changed into slippers, then walked into the house with his big brother. Zishan was sitting beside the dining table, and the dining table was filled with delicacies that Zishan had carefully prepared. The air was filled with the fragrance of the delicacies, causing people to drool. Perhaps it was because Zishan was thinking about something, she didn't notice the two of them entering the house. However, when Yi-hong saw Zishan like this, he felt that Zishan was so beautiful that it felt unreal. Even now, he was still suspecting that this beautiful girl was actually his wife, and she had even prepared a table full of delicacies for him. What did I do to deserve such treatment from you? Yi-hong felt even more ashamed. Zishan, we're back. LV Shu shouted out with a smile. Zishan, who was in a daze, came back to her senses. Soon after, she revealed a smile on her face and said, "Husband, big brother, you two are back. Quickly sit down, I'll go and heat up the dishes." Zishan, don't be so busy. The dishes are still warm. LV Shu said with a smile, then poked the little brother beside him. Damn it, your wife is calling you. Say something. Zishan, thank you. Zishan, thank you. How could you be so polite to your wife? Needless to say, Yi-hong had always been very polite and courteous to Zishan, and had never crossed the line. Take a seat. I'll go get some rice. Would you like some wine? Zishan was also fawning over her husband in every possible way, but what she didn't know was that her actions made Yi-hong feel even more ashamed, and Yi-hong felt that he was not worthy of being fawned over. If Shan were that, Liang would, Yi-hong would have of Shan of, eat. Of. Oh, okay, Zishan prepared everything and even personally poured wine for her husband and big brother. To LV Liang, he was really satisfied with this sister-in-law of his. Zishan is virtuous and sensible, and my vampire sisters are also not bad. Just what is wrong with me? I thought of my vampire sisters again. Come, let's have a toast first. LV Liang raised his wine cup and said with a smile. Zishan raised her wine cup with a smile on her face. Yi-hong's mood was a bit heavy, but he still raised his wine cup. LV Liang and Zishan both took a small sip of their wine, while Yi-hong took a sip of his wine. Yi-hong's face was sunken, and he had a very unhappy look on his face. LV Liang gave a signal with his eyes. This little brother is stupid, right? Zishan is already acting like this, and you are still acting like this. You must be crazy. Zishan smiled gently and didn't take it to heart. She reached out her hand and placed a piece of fish meat into her husband's bowl. Yi-hong, your favorite braised fish. If it was yesterday night, Yi-hong might be very happy. But now, looking at the tender fish meat in his bowl, Yi-hong felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Zishan treated me so well, yet, I didn't even manage to do anything for her to see. Furthermore, right now, I am just like a headless fly that is running around aimlessly. I didn't even manage to meet his honor's expectations at all. Not only did I let down his honor, I also let down Zishan. Both of them are people that treat me so well, yet I am so stupid. Thinking up to here, Yihong took the wine bottle and poured himself a glass of wine, then drank it in one gulp. Then, he continued pouring himself a glass of wine, then drank it again. Yihong. What are you doing? LV Liang's expression tensed up as he shouted out. Is this how a husband should act? Zishan had been busy cooking for an entire afternoon, and not only did you not give her a good look, you are even drinking like this. Zishan, who was sitting beside LV Liang, wrinkled her eyebrows, and her smile gradually disappeared. I have already compromised a lot. I have already made your favorite food, why are you still acting like this? However, right now, Yihong actually started drinking while facing the white wine. LV Liang couldn't bear to watch this anymore and snatched the white wine bottle over. Big brother, what are you doing? Yihong said with a red face. In actuality, when they aren't using their strength, they are the same as ordinary people. They can control themselves and get drunk whenever they want to. LV Liang said gravely, what am I doing, what are you doing? Who are you doing this for? Big brother, give me the wine. Yihong stretched out his hand and said gravely. How could LV Liang possibly give the wine to Yihong? Who knows what kind of crazy words this idiot will say. I don't know if he will anger his wife and drive her away. Big brother, give him the wine. Zishan said faintly. Hearing that, LV Liang had a bad feeling. Without a choice, he could only give the wine to Zishan. However, he didn't leave. If the two of them were to fight, he would still be able to persuade them. Yihong took the wine and began drinking again. Very quickly, he became dizzy. Yihong. If you have anything that you are unhappy about, just say it. In front of Big Brother. Zishan said. Zishan was a bit unhappy in her heart. Yihong laughed lightly with a trace of disdain. This disdain seemed to be a form of pity towards others. Right now, Yihong was thinking, Zishan only became my wife because she felt that I am pitiful. Who would be willing to become my wife? That is impossible. Yihong. What is the meaning of this? Zishan suddenly stood up and asked. LV Liang hurriedly persuaded, Zishan, if you have something to say, then say it nicely. This brat is drunk, he will definitely talk nonsense. Yihong laughed with the help of the wine, nonsense, I won't talk nonsense. Fine. Then say it. Zishan shouted. Chapter 497. LV Liang was startled. Zishan was also startled. She didn't expect that Yihong would actually say such a thing. After all, Yihong rarely did such a thing. Zishan's beautiful eyes immediately turned red, and she tightly clenched her fists. Their relationship was full of twists and turns. If it wasn't you who died, then it was me who died. Logically speaking, this kind of relationship that had gone through death should be everlasting. If other factors were ignored, this kind of relationship could indeed be everlasting. However, Yihong was born in the countryside, and other than being close to his big brother, he didn't have the chance to come into contact with anyone else. Even if he had powerful strength now, he still couldn't get rid of this kind of inferiority. In today's mission, Yihong knew that he was lacking, and he couldn't do anything about it. After returning home, Zishan still tried to please him in every possible way. The strong sense of guilt made Yihong feel that he was useless and unworthy of being cared for. The negative emotions immediately erupted. Why would there be negative emotions? It was because Zishan had always been very strong in front of Yihong. Strong to the point that Yihong thought that Zishan was showing off her identity as a deity, but he didn't say anything. But now that he said everything out, he felt very happy. Zishan felt very heartache. When did I ever ask you for anything? For you, I didn't hesitate to kill everyone in the Marquis's mansion. Could it be that I, Zishan, still care about those empty things? I also didn't expect that in your heart, I am actually such a woman. Sad, Yihong. Hurry up and apologize to Zishan, look at how drunk you are. Zishan, don't take it to heart, this fellow is just an idiot. The word idiot from Big Brother immediately touched Yihong. That's right. I am an idiot, so idiotic that I can't do anything well, so idiotic that I think that you like me, so idiotic that I think that after going through all these things, we can be together forever. Hearing Yihong's roar, Zishan placed her hands on the dining table, then looked at Yihong with her beautiful red eyes and asked, could it be that you think that I don't like you? Yihong laughed bitterly, you are a deity, and I am just a wild brat from the countryside. My strength was bestowed to me by his honor. If I didn't have all these, I would just be a passerby to you, and you wouldn't like me at all. Yihong. You disappoint me too much. Zishan shouted miserably, and tears flowed out from her eyes. Her heart was hurt by Yihong, and Yihong was also hurt by her. Yes, I will only disappoint you. I can't do anything great, and I can't become the man you want me to be. As Yihong laughed, tears flowed down her cheeks. She was just a pheasant. No matter how much she changed, she would never be able to become a phoenix. Zishan asked gravely, then, what do you want? Zishan, let's get a divorce. After saying that, Yihong felt that her entire body had loosened up. Because he had a wife like Zishan, Yihong felt a bit suffocated. As for Zishan, she looked at Yihong in disbelief. Never would she have thought that Yihong would ask for a divorce. How was he lacking? What did he do wrong? What right do you have to ask for a divorce from me? Zishan, who was enraged, grabbed onto Yihong's collar with both of her hands, and her beautiful face was filled with tears. Looking at Zishan, who was in such a state, Yihong laughed bitterly, I am indeed not qualified. You are a god, and I am just a mortal. We are people from different worlds. The big brother who was standing at the side already felt that he couldn't get a word in. It's over. Zishan stared at Yihong, who had an indifferent look on her face, and her face became terrifyingly gloomy. Yihong's back slammed into the wall behind her, and a crack immediately appeared. All right. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. After finished speaking, Zishan ran out of the house while holding on to her face. LV Shu looked at his underling, then looked outside the door, and was a bit at a loss. Meanwhile, Yihong patted on his clothes and let out a breath of relief. Then, he sat back down and ate the piece of fish that was in his bowl. This might be the last thing that I will eat that Zishan made. While eating, tears flowed out from the corner of Yihong's eyes. In actuality, I shouldn't have had any thoughts about Zishan from the very start, because the difference between my and Zishan's identity is too big, to the point that I don't even dare to have any extravagant hopes. LV Shu sat down as well, poured himself a cup of wine, then drank it in one gulp, then said, Is there something wrong with your brain? Big brother, don't you think that Zishan is too perfect? That I am not worthy of her at all? In the beginning, LV Shu did think that way, but after going through those things, he felt that the two of them could still be together. The prerequisite was to abandon their previous identities. After all, the difference between them was too big. LV Shu said gravely, Yihong, think about it carefully, the marriage between you and Zishan was decided by his honor. If you were to get a divorce, do you know the consequences? If you were to divorce, I'm afraid that something would happen to you and Zishan. It doesn't matter to you, but have you ever thought about Zishan? Right now, she is already homeless. Big brother's words startled Yihong. That's right. My marriage is decided by his honor. If I were to divorce, wouldn't I be throwing away his honor's face? If his honor gets angry, it doesn't matter if I am to suffer, but if I were to implicate Zishan. If that happens, I would be a sinner. No. This marriage cannot be divorced. As expected, I am stupid to death. I actually didn't think about this. What are you waiting for? LV Shu shouted. Without even thinking, Yihong chased after Zishan. However, Zishan was already long gone. After looking around, Zishan's figure was still nowhere to be found. Yihong walked back home helplessly. She's gone. Do you really want to divorce that much? LV Shu asked gravely. Big brother, do you really think that Zishan and I are compatible? Yihong asked back. LV Shu didn't say anything. To be honest, Zishan is indeed very perfect. She is like a person from a completely different world from my little brother. The two of them didn't say anything and sat at the dining table while drinking. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Yihong's mind. Come over here. Hearing his honor's ice-cold order, Yihong knew that Zishan went to look for his honor. What happened? Seeing that there was something wrong with his little brother's expression, LV Shu asked hurriedly. Yihong was rather calm right now. Zishan went to look for his honor. His honor wanted me to go over. She went to his honor's place so quickly. My God! You foolish brat, don't act recklessly. His honor has put in a lot of effort for you and Zishan. LV Shu persuaded gravely. I hope that this little brother of mine won't have a cramp again. If he were to say something that angered his honor, even the gods wouldn't be able to save him. Yihong nodded his head, and I understand. After finished speaking, Yihong disappeared from the villa. On the other side, inside the office on the second floor of Leisure Bar. Mournful crying sounds rang out beside his ears. Furthermore, it wasn't just one person crying, it was three people who were hugging each other and crying bitterly. Brett was thirsty from playing games, so he came out to drink a bottle of wine. Suddenly, he heard crying sounds coming from the office, so he came over to take a look. When he came across Zishan, who was similarly hurt by love, Zishan immediately hugged onto Zishan and cried. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong came out to look for Brett, and seeing that Zishan were crying, Qin Yutong also started crying. Qin Yutong, there isn't a single man that is good. Brett, there isn't a single man that is good. Chapter 498. Hearing that, Yihua almost choked. This sister-in-law of mine only knows how to mess things up. Yihua shouted out gravely, Qin Yutong. Why are you making a fuss? Qin Yutong wiped away her tears and snot, then shouted while crying, this atmosphere is here, I was just casually shouting. Woo woo woo. The three women once again let out an earth-shattering wail, and Yihua felt that his entire body wasn't feeling good. I should just go and live in Voidless Realm for this period of time. This place of his was about to become a desolate place. Right when the three women were crying, Yihong's figure appeared in the office, and Yihong hurriedly knelt down in front of Yihua. Qin Yutong, smelly man. Brett, stinky man. Zishan, stinky man. Yihua said coldly, the two of you, get out of here, go and play your games. Qin Yutong and Brett held hands and said, we are going to judge this stinky man together. Scram! Yihua shouted coldly. Qin Yutong and Brett paused, then immediately said, all right. After Qin Yutong and Brett left, Yihua stared at the two with a sunken face. The matter regarding absolute heaven and Brett is already very troublesome. He didn't expect that Yi Hong and Zi Shan would also put on a show. Do you think that I'm very free? Or do you still feel that I, the Supreme Overlord, am getting easier and easier to talk to? Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette butt and sat on the sofa, not even taking a look at the two of them. Zi Shan was currently half kneeling on the ground and sobbing, while Yi Hong was kneeling on the ground and had her head lowered. When the two of them heard that His Honor had gotten angry, both of them immediately became silent. They were both afraid that His Honor would kill the other party out of anger. Your Honor, Yi Hong is bullying me, saying that I'm not a woman here and not a woman there. I can't continue living like this anymore. Zi Shan cried bitterly. Just thinking about it made Zi Shan's heart break. I have done my best for Yi Hong, but I never expected that Yi Hong would say such hurtful words to me. Yi Hong did not refute. She lowered her head in silence. After hearing that, Yi Hua said coldly, since you hate him so much, then go ahead and kill him. When Zi Shan heard that, she cried even louder. How could she bear to do that? Yi Hong. You said that you want to divorce Zi Shan, right? Yi Hua asked gravely while looking at Yi Hong, who had her head lowered. I, the Supreme Overlord, was the one who presided over your marriage, and this is also the first time I am presiding over your marriage for my little brother. It has only been a few months, and you two are already asking for a divorce. Isn't this the same as slapping my face? In the future, none of those subordinates would dare to let me host their wedding. Yi Hong hurriedly said, Your Honor has misunderstood, there is no such thing. Are the two of you toying with me? Yi Hua shouted out angrily. These people are getting more and more daring. I don't dare. Yi Hong pressed her forehead against the ground. When Yi Hua heard Zi Shan's cries, he became a bit impatient. Enough. Don't cry. Although Zi Shan had stopped crying, she was still choking with sobs. Her delicate shoulders were slightly shaking, and she felt as if she had suffered a huge grievance. Yi Hong's heart ached when she heard this. Tell me, what do you two want? There's nothing that death can't solve. The two of them fell silent again. How could they possibly wish for each other to die? In fact, it was just a small quarrel between a young couple. It was very normal. However, for the two of them to come and look for Yi Hua for such a small matter, they shouldn't be looking for Yi Hua. Seeing that the two of them didn't speak, Yi Hua said gravely, How about this, the two of you should separate for a period of time first and calm down. Don't come and look for me for everything, I don't have time to care about your family matters. Zi Shan choked with sobs and said, Your Honor, I know my mistake. Seeing that Zi Shan's attitude of admitting her mistake was still all right, Yi Hua's anger calmed down a bit. Yi Hong, how is the matter going? Your Honor, please be at ease, subordinate will definitely settle the matter. What if the matter isn't settled? Subordinate will apologize with my death. Yi Hong kowtowed and said. Yi Hua sneered, Good. You have a lot of backbone, I am looking forward to your performance. Zi Shan, who was at the side, looked at Yi Hong blankly. I really want to give him a slap. Don't you think before you speak? If you die, what's the point of letting me live alone? Zi Shan, you stay here for this period of time. Yi Hong, you go and settle the matter. Remember what you said. This time, I am serious. Yes. Subordinate will definitely not disappoint Your Honor. Yi Hong said gravely. If I don't settle this matter properly, I won't have the face to be His Honor's subordinate, and I won't have the qualifications to be Zi Shan's husband. Go. Yes. Following after Yi Hong left, Zi Shan immediately sat on the ground. Yi Hua took a look at Zi Shan, then disappeared from his office. This place is too annoying, it is better for me to go to Voidless Realm and have some peace and quiet. My leisure bar has already become a shelter for married women. Yihua arrived at his daughter's courtyard, and Dong Huangli could be seen rushing out of her room. Daddy, Yihua carried his daughter into his embrace. Ollie, Daddy, Ollie misses you. His daughter's words made Yihua, who was gloomy, feel a lot happier. Yihua temporarily tossed aside the trivial matter between his subordinates. To come and look for me just because of a small conflict, who do I look for when I have a conflict with them? Didn't you just gather your subordinates and think of a solution? Ollie, where's mommy? Yihua asked. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth. Mommy and Mommy Ching are still discussing things. They don't have time to accompany Ollie. Let's go, Daddy. Bring Ollie to look for Mommy. All right. Yihua carried his daughter and walked towards the Empress's bedroom, and his path was smooth and unobstructed. Looking at the brightly lit bedroom, Yihua let out a light sigh. It's just a small matter. Is there a need to work so hard? Yihua pushed open the door. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji, who were inside the bedroom, went into a daze. In the entire voidless realm, who would dare to push open the door with such strength, other than husband? Yihua, why did you come? Qingye and Donghuang Baiji asked at the same time. Dong Huangli said obediently, Daddy misses Mommy, so I came. You child. Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly, then carried her daughter into her embrace and kissed her, making Ollie extremely happy. Meanwhile, Yihua let out a sigh, expressing that he was very vexed. Qingye pressed Yihua onto the chair, then stood behind Yihua and lightly massaged him. What's wrong? What happened to make my man sigh like this? It's subordinate's trivial matter. Yihua said faintly. Did Brett cause trouble again? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Dong Huangli asked curiously, Aunt Brett is actually quite pitiful, Uncle Zhu Tian is too heartless. Child, what do you know? Donghuang Baiji pinched onto her daughter's face. Don't look at how Ollie is young, she actually knows everything. Yihua's words caused the three adults to reveal a smile on their faces. Ollie was just like a happy fruit, she would reveal a smile when everyone was in a heavy mood. After coaxing Ollie, Yihua put her back to sleep. The two wives leaned onto Yihua's embrace and enjoyed this moment of peace. Speak, what's wrong? We might be able to help you come up with an idea. Qingye smiled tenderly, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.